Thank you.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the County of Los Angeles Citizen Redistricting Commission special meeting. Today is December 15th, 2021, and the time is 5:02 p.m. We will now call the special meeting to order. For this meeting, we have available interpretation services. For those who are joining via Zoom, please select your preferred language by clicking on the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen, which is a globe icon. Select English or Spanish. You then can choose to mute the original audio for clearer interpretation. If you do not choose a language, you will not hear the interpretation. Please select a channel so your comments do not conflict with the interpretation. As a reminder to the public, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to youtube.com/LA County Redistricting. The link to the recording will also be posted and accessible through the Los Angeles County Redistricting website. If at any time any members of the public have any technical difficulties, please let us know in the Q&A and we can work towards fixing the issue. I will now take the roll. As a reminder, commissioner names will be called in a rotating alphabetical order by last name. Commissioners, please be prepared to unmute your mic and respond when your name is called. Commissioner Nelson Obregon. I believe Commissioner Obregon is still connecting to the audio, so we'll come back. Commissioner Priscilla Orpanella Segura.
Present.
Commissioner Haile Soto.
Present.
Commissioner Cider Soto.
Present.
Commissioner Brian Stetcher.
Here.
Commissioner John Bento.
Present.
Co-Chair Carolyn Williams.
Present.
Commissioner Dorina Wong.
Present.
Commissioner Jean Franklin.
Present.
Commissioner David Holtzman.
Present.
Commissioner Mary Kenny.
Here.
Co-Chair Daniel Maeda.
Present.
Commissioner Mark Mendoza. Commissioner Apollonio Morales.
Present.
And Commissioner Nelson Obregon.
Present.
Great. A few notes regarding public comments before I hand it over to Co-Chair Williams. If you are interested in making a live oral public comment, you may submit in the Q&A your name, your affiliated organizations, if any, and that you would like to make a public comment. When you are called to make your public comment, you will be prompted to unmute your mic so you can speak. If you are participating via phone, press *9 to raise your hand, and once called upon, press *6 to unmute and speak. Each person will have one opportunity to speak for 1 minute per discussion or agenda item. And when you begin making your comment, please share your name and any affiliation you may have. Again, the Q&A is for members of the public to sign up to make a live public comment. If you have additional comments you would like to make, including public comments for specific draft maps, they can be submitted to the public comment forum. You can find the link in the chat or on the CRC website. Submitting to the public comment forum ensures your written comments are accurately recorded. However, filling out the public comment form does not mean signing up to make an oral comment at today's meeting. Again, the only way to sign up to make an oral comment at today's meeting is by submitting your name, affiliated organization, and agenda item number to the Q&A. And so I'll just take a moment to show the public how to submit public comments through the form. So the link is available in the chat, but you are also able to find it on the CRC website. On the homepage, you can click on Submit Comments for Meetings and Hearings. This will open up a new tab in your browser that will lead you to the public comment form. You'll need to fill in your first name, your last name where the red asterisks are. Here, you can also attach any documents you would like associated with your public comment. From there, you will need to select at least one agenda item. Let's say, for example, 5A. Then you will need to select a specific position, in favor, oppose, or other. Then the comments are optional, and you can enter in whatever comments you would like. Once you're done selecting the agenda items, the positions you would like to submit to public comment, go ahead and scroll down to the bottom of the form, enter in the security code, and then press Next. This will take you to a verification page, and please verify your information is correct as well as your public comment for the specific agenda item and position. Once you verify it, you need to click on Acknowledge. Once you click Acknowledge, that is when your public comment will be officially submitted to the database and will be uploaded after tonight's meeting. Okay, so with that, I'll hand it over to Co-Chair Williams.
Thank you, Ty. In terms of approval of the agenda, there are no changes to the agenda, so the agenda is approved.
Co-Chair Williams, do you want to consider moving the minutes to later in the meeting so you have more time for the substantive matters, or do you want to?
No, I think I agree. We should move the agenda to later to after action item 5B and C and D, action item A, B, action. Let me start this over. I'd like to move the consent items, approval of the agenda to action items 5A, B, and C. Those are the only changes to the agenda, so the agenda is approved.
So the first action item is 5A. It says 5B, but I'm pretty sure that must be 5A, presentation of legal assessment of the final map by our voting polarization analysis consultant, Bruce Adelson. So Bruce, are you there?
I am here. Mr. Co-Chair, it's a pleasure to see you and everybody again tonight. Thank you very much. So I'm just going to very briefly summarize my opinion. As you know, you've had a chance to look at it, and we've had similar discussions over time. My opinion is that the map that you're considering tonight does not appear to have the purpose or effect of discriminating against people, minority people in Los Angeles County, certainly based on race, color, or membership in a language minority group, which are the categories specified in the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and are similar to the categories in the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. I should note too, in addition to that, I know that some of you have informed me or informed others, which I appreciate, of some data inconsistencies and numeric errors in those various percentages. I appreciate that. I'm going to work with your staff and your demographer to make sure that all the numbers are correct. The numbers, the anomalies that some of you pointed out do not bear on my opinion at all. The differences are legally insignificant and not something which would change my conclusion. So again, my conclusion is that your maps appear to be compliant with my jurisdiction, which is federal law. I congratulate you on your process and what you've achieved. And I look forward to answering any questions that you may have tonight. Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair.
Thank you, Bruce. Any questions, clarifying questions from the commission before we take public comment?
Commissioner Morales?
Thank you so much, Bruce, for putting this report together. It's very extensive and very informative. Just wanted to correct on page 5 of the report. In the last paragraph, it says that DA George Gascon is white and he's actually Latino. He was born in Cuba, so he's an immigrant actually. So just want to make sure if we can update that part of the report, that'd be great.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. That is definitely something I will rectify. I appreciate it.
It's a spectrum of color within the Latino community.
Thank you very much.
Any other clarifying questions or points? Ty, are there public comments on this matter?
Yes, we do have a few hands as well as some folks in the Q&A. So just as a reminder for folks entering into the Q&A that you would like to make a public comment, please specify which agenda item you would like to make a public comment on. We do have a few today. So with that, we have Chris Rowe and then John Mendoza. So Chris, you will have 1 minute to make your public comment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I would like to know maybe, and that's why I'm asking it on this question while your legal counsel is there. One of the things I've been thinking about is I know that you're a panel of 14. I'm thinking about future population for a decade from now. I don't know if this falls in your mandate, but since your legal counsel, your federal legal counsel is there, I believe that the state commission is 14 members as well. And while I think you've done a good job, I've been thinking a great deal about how there has been no representative that actually lives in the San Fernando Valley, and nobody lives in Santa Clarita or Antelope Valleys to represent this body. And so I was thinking about, when you make recommendations in your report, could you make sure that they have more commissioners and that equal balance of population for various
Thank you,
regions?
Chris. Thank you. Next, we have John Mendoza, and then phone number ending in 3397. John, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners, and congratulations on the map. I just have one request, and that's that you realign the area of the Fairplex and Laverne so that it coincides with the new council district that was formed there. It's almost similar to what you have right now, except it leaves out a few little areas. And just double check, because I would hate to see like some voters on one side of the street in the same council district voting for a supervisor, and then when it comes for the supervisor number 5, the people on the other side of the block will be voting differently. So in order to be more coherent, I request that you just double check on that and see if you could realign that line right there for the new council district. And that's my only request. And thank you very much. And again, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. We'll consider that comment to be applicable to 5B. So you will have spoken on 5B. Thank you.
Okay.
Time.
Next, we have phone number ending in 3397. You will have 1 minute. Okay. And just as a reminder for those who are calling in, to unmute, press *6. So phone number ending in 3397.
This is Tim Hepburn. I'm actually for item B. Can I speak on item B now, or should we wait till that
Please
item
wait.
comes up?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So with that, I believe that's all for public comments on 5A. Co-chairs, would you like to close on 5A?
Yes, please.
Okay, and so we will move to 5B. I was waiting on the slide to come up. Discussion and potential approval of the resolution adopting the final map. And I believe that starts with the staff presentation.
So Holly, do you want to start it, or do you want, we also have the slides that Ty can present about Ty Town.
Actually, I'll just share my screen briefly and just discuss. You all have seen the draft resolution that was posted yesterday and sent. It had a few red lines in it. I did want to share my screen and share with you just a few little additional changes. So this, make sure I can do that.
I made you a co-host.
So these red lines that you see here were in the posted version yesterday, and that were emailed, and it has all the various recitals you all have seen. I do want to just highlight, literally, these are highlighted, some very minor nits here in paragraph 2B, the insertion of a "the" and a correction of "on" to "in." Very minor, but I do want to make sure that when we come time for the motion, you know which version you're approving. And on this one, just to keep the parallel structure of having a little intro for each of the paragraph adoptions, we just added one noting that this is technical adjustments. This is the paragraph that deals with technical adjustments. Those are minor, but just so the record's clear, this would be the form, pending changes you may have and that are approved by the group for you to consider. And unless anybody has any questions about that, I'll turn it back over to Gayla.
I think you should
Commissioner
take
Clyder
questions
Soto?
on the resolution first, and then we can talk about the map.
Rosa Soto has
Yes.
her hand up.
I wanted to check in or follow up on the question we had about record that will be provided if there are adjustments made to the map by the county registrars or the recorder's office, and where that will be reported or how that might be reported to us.
Yes, right now the resolution in paragraph 3 does have the item that we discussed before that states that the LA County Register of Recorders shall report in writing to the commission, setting forth any of those adjustments that they make. So I know that I don't know exactly what the timeline of that will be, because this will be quite a process for them to go through, but that is in the resolution.
Commissioner Holtzman?
Thank you. I understand that those adjustments won't change any of the people in the different districts. They won't allocate people to different districts. But I'm just wondering why they may need to make those adjustments at all. If parcels are split between 2 supervisorial districts, does that have implications for tax payments or something else?
My understanding is it can affect which precinct voters are in, and it then directly affects the registrar. Wants to make sure they're sending the ballots and voter information material to the correct person, so they need to make sure the precincts align. I also understand that in using the RDUs, one of the thoughts was this would eliminate, I mean, that's the goal, would eliminate that there would need to be any adjustments if we're using the RDUs, as opposed if we had started with census blocks. But we'll see. That can always be the goal. That's the aspiration there. So this is a new situation here, so it's a bit unknown. We're not expecting them to be extensive, but my understanding is to ensure the ballots get to the right people.
All right, Council, I really appreciate that explanation having to do with voting in elections and parcels. Thank you very much.
Any other clarification points, Gayla?
We have a request from the representatives from Town. I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to let Ty walk through. There is one small section of Town that was not captured. So Ty, you want to take it and I'll put up the screen.
Sounds good. So we received written public comments about Town, not just for this particular meeting, but through the last several meetings and public hearings as well, about keeping Town united. So most of there was one slight oversight as the commission on Saturday, when you all agreed to move Los Feliz, what's recognized in the CSA layer as Los Feliz, from District 1 to District 2, or District 5, from District 1 to District 5. There was one RDU unit, which in public testimony is defined as part of Town as well. And so that RDU has been moved also from SD1 to SD5, meaning that not all of Town as defined by public testimony is all in SD1. So we're still missing that one RDU, as you see on the screen, in that red square. And then Gail, if you could go to the next slide, just to give you a little bit information about this particular RDU. The population size is about 3,261, and you can see the breakdown by race for the 4 major racial groups. And then just to kind of quickly go through to the next slide, what would it mean to the overall plan if this change was to be made? So you can see here that qualitatively, it would more or less stay the same. The overall range does increase slightly, but only very small percentages in District 1 and District 5 change in terms of total population, as well as some of the demographic breakdowns as well. Again, it's a relatively small population size compared to the rest. Commissioner Rosa Soto, you had your hand up.
You show the CBAP changes if you have those?
I do not have them on the slide. Okay, I think the interpreter might be in the wrong channel. Okay, so we don't have the numbers right here, but I can pull it up to see if I can get that. But I think it's qualitatively the same as well. regarding the CVAP. Is there a particular number that you would like to see?
Well, for District 1, just what it might mean.
Okay, so let me see. Okay, so for District 1, when we're looking at the CVAP, it will be 51.43% Latino CVAP, 16.68% white CVAP, 4.14% Black CVAP, and then 26.63% Asian CVAP.
Thanks, Ty.
Okay, Commissioner Setcher?
I don't object in theory to these kinds of minor changes, but at this late hour, this will require changing text in the report, changing text in Mr. Adelson's summary, and I just want to know whether it's practicable for us to do this. I'd almost prefer not to open up any changes at this point because there could be an onslaught of them.
So Gayla, that was a question whether or not if we wanted to make that change, could we do it and still get this thing done in time?
I thought it was an observation. Yes, it will be work. Of course, we're holding our breath how late this meeting will go. To do those revisions would require updating all the tables in chapter 8.2. And it would require ArcBridge to rerun all of the census block and datas and RDUs that are over 1,000 pages. And it would be a new shapefile. So I cannot tell you, if we had another 2 or 3 days, I would say no problem. I know there's some other adjustments, but we also want to be respectful of this request from the Thai community.
Commissioner Wong and then Commissioner Holtzman.
Yes, I guess it was my understanding that actually that there might be 2 different versions of the report that had this change in it. But so we would have to change the report and rerun everything just for this change. And how long would that take?
Well, so Commissioner Wong, we've been working pretty much 24 hours a day for the last 3 days to get this report ready for you. We've asked ArcBridge to prepare the numbers so we could rapidly put them into the tables. But whenever, we are concerned about quality control. But if it's a request you want to have happen, we have asked ArcBridge to prepare the numbers. It will push the clock, particularly if this meeting runs long.
Can I just say that at our last meeting, I thought we had said we were going to take care of this. Am I mistaken about that?
Yes. So go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, Commissioner Wong, that was referring to another RDU.
Oh, okay. You mean we
Yes.
made more mistakes?
No.
So-
So the commission, if you don't mind, the commission approved a map in which we thought we were making Thai Town whole by filling in a left-hand, sort of a central west half block that was missing from Thai Town. And we instructed staff to fill that in. They did. And then in the course of running everything, we realized that actually because of this move on Saturday that we made, we now are missing another block up on top. So that was not part of the map that we agreed to. And that was a part that we'd hoped perhaps there'd be time to create an alternate report with all that stuff, but there hasn't been time to do that. Commissioner Holtzman.
So just as a procedural matter, is this something we need to take public comment on separately? Or do we need to finish the staff report on the whole thing before we take public comment?
I think we should
Yeah.
finish the staff report.
Right, we would finish everything in the staff report and then go to public comment.
And then, okay, and then circle back to these various issues. So thank
That's
you.
right.
Commissioner Rosa Soto.
Is there a possibility where this can be done once it's been submitted, given that there's some expectation that there will be some adjustments made by the registrar's office.
I mean, Holly could speak to
Ye-
that. I don't think
yes,
that the registrar's office can make those kinds of adjustments.
That's absolutely correct. I think they cannot. Those types of adjustments could only be made by this body. And the issue is we've flagged it and we know it now. So if you approve the map now, this would not be a technical adjustment that I think even you could make later, because you're voting knowing this is what the map is.
Commissioner Orpanela Segura?
Yes, in terms of the tables that need to be updated, would there be any possibility of, I don't know, updating it as an amendment rather than making all the changes to the actual report? Not sure if that would be more feasible than updating all the text within the report.
When we file the redistricting plan, which is essentially the resolution, the shapefile, and all the runs of the RDUs and census blocks, those need to be accurate. And so I hesitate to say that we can change those later. Arguably, we have a little bit more room in the report, but really what the meat of it is the redistricting plan itself. So I don't know that that really is really available to us. I wish it were.
Commissioner Vento?
Are there going to be more changes like this throughout this evening? I mean, is this the only change we're talking about, or are we going to have like going back and forth on certain RDUs?
If I may on that, this is the only one we're calling out. And the only reason we called it out is because I think based on the record, staff was feeling that the intent had always been to keep Ti-Town together. And so this was just an issue that we're flagging. This is distinct from other decisions where those were made eyes wide open and maybe there was competing votes on various things. So this is just the one.
Commissioner Holtzman?
So just to clarify for everybody who's listening here, the community or COMM database in the software, the redistricting software, is what community members are claiming to be in error here. And so when you identify by community using the software, you get Ti-Town with looks like 3 RDUs, but community members are saying Ti-Town should include 1 more additional RDU. Is that correct? That the error lies really, well, the error, if it is one, lies in the software.
So I would not necessarily call it an error. There are 2 different definitions of what a community border is. One is by the county and one is by public testimony. And so it's up to the commission to decide which boundaries to take. It's very similar to the conversation about Koreatown with those additional RDU units that were originally defined within the CSA reference layer as part of PICO Union.
So when was this first called to the attention of staff or even the commission, the discrepancy between the county's definition, which is what we've been using in our software for many weeks now, and the community's, or some community testimony suggesting that the software's definition is the wrong one?
So I've mentioned it several times before in regards to how the software's boundaries are defined by the county, the CSA reference layer, versus what public testimony defines as the boundaries for these specific communities. The example that often comes up is with Koreatown.
No, I just want to know about this one, this particular discrepancy. When did it first come to our attention or your attention?
So
It was Monday, was it not?
So it was on Monday, yes, and it's in the written public comments. It's been submitted and available online.
So it's a pretty late hit. Thank you.
But just to clarify, one of the reasons it didn't come up or wasn't relevant before was because we
Yeah.
had the Los Feliz district as, or RDU, as part of the same district that Town was in. So it didn't matter. It was already there. It's only when we moved it out that we didn't realize that was one of the unintended consequences of that. Commissioner Setcher.
Thank you. I think we should hear public testimony and then see whether there are, how many issues are on the table for us to consider and what the relative complexity and the genesis of them are.
Any other comments before we take public testimony? Let's do that. And it doesn't look like there's that many, but we will definitely put a time limit on it. Let's say it's, let's say 1 hour at absolute most of public testimony.
Okay, so let me go ahead and get set up. And so just as a reminder for members of the public, there has been a couple questions in the Q&A, how to sign up for live oral public comments tonight. So just a reminder, if you are interested in making a live oral public comment tonight, please put into the Q&A your name, your affiliated organization, if any, and the specific agenda item you would like to make a public comment on. And if you're calling via phone, and just press *9 to raise your hand and you will be called on. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. First, we have John Leonard and then Amy Wong. John, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is John Leonard, and I'm the Community and Legislative Affairs Manager for the City of West Hollywood. City of West Hollywood would like to thank the Commission for keeping West Hollywood in District 3 in the latest version of the map. West Hollywood remaining in District 3 has been important because the city has historically been in that district, along with other West Side cities such as Beverly Hills and Santa Monica. We work closely with these other cities at our Council of Governments on regional issues, and having a single supervisor that represents all of the cities is important to this work. Thank you again for your work and your support of keeping West Hollywood in District 3.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Amy Wong and then David Diaz. Amy, you will have 1 minute.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Amy Wong. I'm a resident of El Monte and I work for Active San Gabriel Valley. We're a community-based organization dedicated to creating a more sustainable, equitable, and livable region. I'd like to thank you for your work so far. I support how the San Gabriel Valley is united in SD1 in the final map. I just have one request. Please add Peck Road Water Conservation Park into SD1. It does not belong in SD5, where Foothill residents have more access to open spaces like the San Gabriel Mountains. Our community uses Peck Road Park, and we deserve a say in how the park is managed. Therefore, it should be under SD1 and not SD5. It's a quick and easy fix that doesn't affect how the county's CVAP percentages look because there aren't any residents at the park. Please add Peck Road Park into SD1. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have David Diaz and then David Wilson. David, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, good evening, folks. My name is David Diaz. I'm the Executive Director of Active San Gabriel Valley, but I'm also an El Monte resident and on the El Monte School District School Board of Trustees. I'd also like to thank you for your work so far. I support how the SGV is kept together in SD1 in the final map. To echo the request of my colleague, please add Peck Road Water Conservation Park into SD1. In particular, El Monte ranks in the worst category as a very high need community for park space. Residents don't have access to parks, but we all value park space really highly. As a frequent park user, we deserve to say in how the park is managed. Please include the park in SD1's jurisdiction, not SD5. So with that, have a good night.
Thank you. Next, we have David Wilson and then Jessica Panduro. David, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm David Wilson, City Manager for the City of West Hollywood. Thank you for all the hard work that you continue to do, and congratulations on your proposed final map. I did speak on Sunday, and I just want to thank you for keeping the City of West Hollywood in the 3rd District and reiterate the importance of keeping the City of West Hollywood in the 3rd District and keeping that district intact as much as region. We work closely when it comes to homelessness, mobility, and affordable housing. And I think it's important that we all remain in one district. So thank you again for your work, and we look forward to approval of the final map.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Jessica Panduro and then Karen Waters. Jessica, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Jessica Panduro, Eastside resident, community organizer with Inner City Struggle and in coalition with the People's Bloc. I represent my community in spaces like these because I am the East Side. I want to thank you for your long, extensive work in this process as an independent commission. You all had a very important job to represent LA County via district line drawing. Thanks for making the space for community to participate. As Inner City Struggle, we supported East Side voices in engaging in this process from outreach, community meetings, to COI workshops and supporting to bridge the tech gaps, and we will continue to engage in future redistricting process. Although not perfect, I want to thank you for being part of a map that is more representative of our community. With this map, you are acknowledging and giving a voice to our communities of color. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Karen Waters and then Jacqueline DuPont Walker. Karen, you will have 1 minute.
Okay. Good evening. I am shocked and disappointed by the Commission's unprecedented decision to remove the Northwest San Fernando Valley communities from the 5th District. And the Commission acted in the shadows and did not take public input on removing the entire Northwest San Fernando Valley. As an insurance agent for the entertainment industry, the entertainment industry community interest is inaccurate. The to designate for the Northwest San Fernando Valley is not correct. It would be suited for Burbank, Beverly Hills, Brentwood, Hollywood, Malibu, Pacific Palisades, Encino, Sherman Oaks, and so forth. The multi-billion-dollar claims that were paid out for the entertainment industry were for those districts, not the Northwest Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jacqueline DuPont Walker and then Chris Rowe. Jacqueline, you will have 1 minute. Jacqueline, whenever you're ready, please unmute.
I believe it is Jacqueline who spoke. Are we not going on to Chris Rowe next?
No, that was Karen Waters.
Karen Waters, my apologies.
Jacqueline, if you are there, please unmute. Okay, so we'll come back to Jacqueline. Okay, so next we have Chris Rowe and then Wendy Gladstone. Chris, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, Commissioner. I don't know if you can hear me. Good evening. Good evening. My thoughts are that when you drew the lines, I understand balance of population. I know that people from the West Side just thanked you for putting them into District 3. But what that did is essentially you have candidates that live in Santa Monica, candidates that live in West Hollywood for this District 3, and we lose in the Valley the opportunity to elect someone really from the San Fernando Valley. It's my hope in the future. I know you don't believe it's your mandate, but I would like you to make a recommendation for more supervisors and people that are throughout the city, because essentially you've, enabled one of, as I said, somebody from the other side of the hill to represent a valley that doesn't know the valley. Thank you.
Next, we have Wendy Gladstone and then Maria Brenes. Wendy, you have 1 minute.
Good evening, everybody. I am Wendy Gladstone. I am the president of the Santa Susana Mountain Park Association, a 50-year-old organization in Chatsworth dedicated to preserving and protecting the local and regional open spaces. We are disappointed at this sudden decision, what seems to try to pass a new map through without much public comment. So many in our community have already advocated to leave Chatsworth, Porter Ranch, Northridge, Granada Hills, and other Northwest and Northeast foothill communities in LA County District Supervisor District 5. We are communities of common and mutual interests, horse properties, wildfire concerns, and we're located at the base of the foothills. Others on the valley floor do not share the same issues, so why change things if they've been working well? Is there a hidden agenda here? We ask that you revert back to map F4 before the changes that were made. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Maria Brenes, and then phone number ending in 3397. Maria, you will have 1 minute.
Congratulations, commissioners, for getting to this point. Today is a monumental day for LA County residents. Although the commission did not approve map A or subsequent variations, I recognize that the final map includes core components of the People Block's proposals. Most notably, many historic communities of interest were kept or made whole, creating new opportunities for equitable representation. It is a historic step forward that the regions of the east side of LA, greater South LA, and the southeast of LA will each be more able to elect candidates of choice over the next 10 years. These important and historically overlooked communities will have a opportunity for greater impact on LA County matters. Thank you, and we will continue to uplift our voices. And I want to congratulate Ty for an amazing job at managing public comment.
Great, thank you. Next, we have phone number ending in 3397, then phone number ending in 4264. Number 3397, you will have 1 minute. Again, just a reminder for those who are calling in, *6 to unmute.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Well, thank you, commissioners, for all the hard work you guys have all done. I really appreciate it. As of the new map was drawn, this new map, south part of Laverne, Fairplex, was put into District 1. Laverne has established an Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District, EIFD. The proposed redistricting will split Laverne as a community of interest, which no other surrounding city is split between two districts, but would place the EIFD in Supervisor Solis's district. Supervisor Barger has been instrumental in supporting this formation of the district, which benefits the county, Laverne, and the Fairplex. Supervisor Barger is a voting member of the Public Financing Authority Board for the EIFD, and her staff are well-versed in the purpose of the district and has participated in all of the meetings since the district was formed. Infrastructure projects identified in the EIFD are essential for the development of Laverne, both inside and outside the district boundaries, impacting development across supervisors' districts. The request of the carve-out be put back in Laverne in District 5, as we have in the past and will in the future work closely with Supervisor Solis and the Fairplex, the surrounding cities, to make any of our endeavors a success. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And Commissioner Holtzman, do you have a clarifying question?
I have a clarifying remark. I believe our council has offered to weigh in and address why we're not allowed to consider comments that suggest that specific people, specific supervisors represent particular areas. So council, if you're there and would like to do that, I would appreciate it if you would do that, please.
Yes, I believe what you're referring to, Commissioner Holtzman, is that provision of the Elections Code, which defines a community of interest. And after it describes what a community of interest is, it describes what it is not, at least statutorily. And that is the one where it says, communities of interest shall not include relationships with political parties, incumbents, or political candidates. I believe that's what you're referring to. So for purposes of a community of interest, those relationships statutorily are not considered.
Okay.
Thank you, Ty. Go on, please.
With that, let's go ahead and move on to the next caller with phone number ending in 4264, then caller with phone number ending in 1961. Number 4264, you will have 1 minute.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Larry Fleck. I am a resident of Granada Hills.
I have to say I am also shocked and disappointed by the commission's decision to remove the Northwest San Fernando Valley communities from the 5th District. The commission seemingly acted in the shadows and did not take any public input on removing the entire Northwest San Fernando Valley from the 5th District. There is overwhelming public comment on record advocating to keep these communities in the 5th District and attached to the North County and Northeast San Fernando Valley foothills. It seems at the final minute, a commissioner created an artificial community of interest, the entertainment industry community of interest. There has been no public comment that I've seen about the industry, about this entertainment industry community of interest. It calls to question the commissioner's intentions for introducing this new community of interest and appears as a hidden agenda.
Next, we have caller ending in 1961 and then William Slocum. Caller 1961, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, my name is Dina Fisher. I've served on the Chatsworth Lake Manor Town Council for 5 years as an elected person here. And I have to say, I'm not only disappointed, but outraged by what I'm hearing about my community being removed from the 5th District. We have worked for decades to establish relationships with other communities in the 5th who we share common interests with. We have very little to do with the general San Fernando Valley and other metropolitan areas. I'm very upset by what I've been hearing, that this move was done at the 11th hour after public comment had overwhelmingly supported keeping us in the 5th, and that this is a political agenda trying to get somebody elected. I insist that this be addressed tonight by the speakers. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you. Next, we have William Slocum and then John Luker. William, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you. My name is Bill Slocum. I am a resident of Cagle Canyon in the Northeast San Fernando Valley, and I'm the president of the Cagle Canyon Civic Association. I too am disappointed that the commission had decided to remove the Northwest San Fernando Valley communities, which we have a lot of interest with. There is overwhelming public comment on the record advocating to keep these communities in the 5th District, and I believe that you need to revert back to map F4, which showed changes prior to adding them to the San Fernando Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have John Luker and then Karen Barnett. John, you will have 1 minute.
Gun mute. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. My name is John Luker. I'm the president of Save Chatsworth, Inc. We do habitat restoration in the local mountains around here. Where I live in the San Fernando Valley in the northwest corner, the unincorporated part of Los Angeles County has absolutely nothing to do with the entertainment industry. To say that we are a community of interest with the entertainment industry is incorrect. I was a director of photography for 35 years, and I can tell you right now, there is no motion picture production in this area. It's also come to my attention that I'm hearing a member of this committee made this change to benefit a LA City councilman who is going to be running for supervisor. This is corruption. I would like it investigated before you make a vote on this, because overwhelmingly our community does not want to see this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Karen Barnett and then Don Larson. Karen, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, my name is Karen Barnett and I'm from Atwater Village. I was very disappointed in this remapping. I was involved in the earlier process with public comments. Atwater Village has historically been represented by District 3 with a little bit of 1. We have a working relationship with Kuhl's office and have little relationship with 1 and none with 5. Beyond the change in our elected representation, the new boundaries are not representative of our community, its interests, or shared interests. Our community is Atwater Village. It's a riverfront community, and the boundary as shown does not include the LA River. According to the county's own LA River Master Plan, we have little to no flood protection, as low as 4% to a high of 5%, and FEMA's is 100-year flood. So at a minimum, please expand the border to go to I-5 or include the river. We need representation for that.
Next, we have Don Larson and then Jackie Contreras. Don, you will have 1 minute.
Yeah, hi, my name is Don Larson. I'm a resident in Northridge and of the City 12 area and District 5. I am also disturbed by this move of removing the Northwest San Fernando Valley from our District 5, Supervisor 5 area. I'd like you to revert back to the original map of F5 or 5F, I think it is, 4F, and keep us in District 5, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jackie Contreras and then Richard Fisk. Jackie, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jackie with Community Coalition, also the People's Bloc. I want to commend you all for the hard work you have put into drawing the new county lines. You have all made history as being the first independent commission tasked with drawing the LA County lines that's going to impact over 10 million people. We appreciate the time you took in listening to our community voices, and I also want to thank you all for using the People's Bloc map to guide you, as this map was developed using community voices and input and was drawn in a way that enhances and protects Black and Latinx community power in places like East LA, Southeast LA, and South LA. Even though this map can still be perfected, it has created a more representative map of our communities that will impact them over the next decade. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Richard Fisk and then Austin Sire. Richard, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you. I am here. Basically, I'm opposed to this latest map. We should revert back to F4. The valley being 1.8, 1.4 million people is hardly a single community of interest. We should probably have a minimum of 2 supervisors. But more importantly, you talked tonight earlier about changes and how that would affect. It take a couple days to make changes. I looked up the map. F4 was updated on the 12th of this month, last Friday. I guess that was, and you have the latest map, the latest one you're presenting tonight, updated the same day. And you've taken out the northern part of the San Fernando Valley. So again, this has a dramatic appearance of behind the scenes political favors with no public input. So I please investigate that and vote for F4. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Austin Sire and then Bryant Edwards. Austin, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, thank you so much. I was just taking a look at, I heard some of these comments that were coming in and went back and checked out some of the changes that were being made on this. And, one of the things that hadn't been mentioned over here is the Hollywood Bowl getting taken out of SD3 when some of these changes were getting moved around. And I was just there pretty recently, and I just think it's a cultural gem that we have going on over here. And I know it's been in the district for a really long time, like I think over 70 years in the same district. I think the continuity in terms of constituent services and all it takes to maintain that, it would just make a lot of sense to keep it in District 3 for the Hollywood Bowl and with the rest of what's happening here in Hollywood and everything else that's going on in District 3. So thank you so much, and hope you guys have a great rest of your night.
Thank you. Next, we have Brian Edwards, and then Doug Williams. Brian, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time. My name is Brian Edwards. I'm a Los Feliz resident. Want to thank everybody for their work to date. I think it's obvious that this was a lot of difficult work, but I think I was calling in to advocate to keep Los Feliz whole. As we heard earlier, it's been split up, and it continues to be even after the discussion tonight. But I think what is striking me from all the comments is there were so many changes at the last minute that it does feel a little haphazard. And given that this is a new process with an independent commission, I think, I'm of two pieces of thought. One, I think we need to return to the F4 map, as many others have suggested, or just admit that this has been a difficult process and maybe an unsuccessful one, and that's okay as a first time out the gate. So I appreciate your time and your leadership, and I really hope you reflect on the comments tonight.
Thank you. Next, we have Doug Williams and then Rosa Soto. Doug, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was disappointed to hear of these last minute changes to the redistricting map, switching out some of the prime community assets that we have in District 3 to District 5. I'm the treasurer of our neighborhood association. I'm a resident of Hollywood Heights for over 6 years. We're directly and significantly involved with the Hollywood Bowl and the Ford Theater. What takes place season after season transforms our lives every year, taking our quiet residential neighborhood to be stressed by traffic and noise and impacted by the thousands of people entering our neighborhood nightly to attend concerts at these events. The impact has worsened over the years as the Bowl and the Ford seasons have expanded to larger acts and also to a longer season. And the listening and support that we've gotten from our district deputies on multiple issues, including the traffic and the crime and the litter, specific to these venues is imperative. They understand our history, they know the issues of our community, and quite frankly, they listen. Removing these assets and placing them into District 5 simply comes across as no less than a corrupt power grab.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Next, we have Rosa Soto and then Marcia Hanscom. Rosa, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, Commissioners. Rosa Soto, a resident of North Whittier and lifelong resident of SD1. Very pleased with the map submission for tonight, particularly how many of the communities of interest within District 1 have stayed intact. Additionally, happy that Eastside communities have also stayed close to many of the resources and services that were vital to our survival, particularly during COVID-19 response. Thank you for taking the time to listen to community voices. And though at times that time was limited, you always allowed for general public comment and reflected response that you had to what was heard from the community. So thank you lastly for your continued commitment to a transparent process and for all of the time that this commission as volunteers have dedicated. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Marcia Hanscom and then Nicolas Montano. Marcia, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Marcia Hanscom. I'm with the Defend Bionah Wetlands, and I'm also a Sierra Club leader. And I just wanted to thank all of you for listening to the public, particularly related to the Bionah Wetlands issues, and for placing everything south of Washington Boulevard into the 2nd District, where the other parts of the lower Bionah watershed area already were in your previous map. Marina Del Rey Lagoon, Bionah Lagoon, all these lagoons and the Bionah Wetlands State Reserve all belong together with Bionah Creek. So we appreciate your listening to the public, and we ask that you adopt the final map as published prior to this meeting. And I just want to say to those who I've been listening to, you know, our neighbors are heartsick that we're losing Janice Hahn. We all also know our supervisor and know that she listens to us. I'm sure the changes are not going to be easy, but I feel you all have really listened. I watched the entire meeting Sunday, and I thought you were very, very fair. So thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Nicolas Montano, then Cherokee Lara O'Day. Nicolas, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hello. My name is Nicolas Montano. I'm a resident of Chatsworth, also the president of the Chamber of Commerce. Very disappointed in this map. My question is, when will our leaders start taking consideration of the needs of their constituents and stop voting for their own agendas and political careers? For years, this rapid nepotism and cronyism has made decisions for the good of their careers and not for the good of the public. This redistricting that has been forced upon us will be represented by people that don't know who we are. We've made tremendous advancements with the supervisor now. This map calls into question the commissioner's intentions of introducing this new community interest, and it appears that the commissioner who's introduced these changes has a hidden agenda. Please go back to F4 before any surprise changes are made. Thank you.
Next, we have Cherokee Lar O'Day, and then phone number ending in 3889. Cherokee, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, my name is Cherokee Lar O'Day. I am a fourth generation resident and community activist in Chatsworth Lake Manor, unincorporated 5th District. We have worked successfully for multiple decades, generations, unifying for low impact development, our ecological concerns. I am highly disturbed that I was on the hearing when it happened, and the fact that none of us were able to speak, that there is a hidden agenda here with this particular commissioner. I wholeheartedly resent the fact that we weren't included after 50 years of constant dedication on a volunteer basis to our communities. We just are successfully acquiring a fire prevention grant for our area that is specific for the 5th District. We plan on working with the 3rd District in addition, but I genuinely feel in my heart that there is no reason to put us in the 3rd District if we don't belong there. Especially, please investigate the concerns of this commissioner in making those changes.
Thank you. Thank you. Time is up. Next, we have phone number ending in 3889, then Mehmet Berker. 3889, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Dana Fleck. I'm a resident of Granada Hills. I want to share that I'm very disappointed as well by the commissioner's decision to remove the Northwest San Fernando Valley communities from the 5th District. I'm born and raised here, and I will say that the commission acted in the shadows and did not take any public input on removing the entire Northwest San Fernando Valley from the 5th District. There is overwhelming public comment on record advocating to keep these communities in the 5th District and attached to the North County and Northeast San Fernando Valley foothills. There's been no public comment about the entertainment industry community of interest. So we please ask that you revert back to the map F4 before the surprise changes to the San Fernando Valley were made. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mehmet Berker and then Jacqueline DuPont Walker. Mehmet, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Mehmet Berker. I'm representing Los Angeles Councilmember Nithya Raman and her office. We have major problems with the border as proposed in the final map between districts 3 and 5 that leaves Franklin, cuts up Outpost, cuts over on Mulholland to Laurel Canyon, and then to Moore Park Street. There are newly adopted districts between for Council District 4. Roughly, it follows the LA River, and you could revise the boundaries so that longtime cultural institutions like the Hollywood Bowl are kept with their neighbors and in their supervisor district by following the 101 through the Cahuenga Pass and following the LA River, for example, west to your border at Laurel Canyon. We would ask that such adjustments be made to maintain longtime cultural institutions with their immediate neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jacqueline DuPont Walker and then Carrie Ungermab. Jacqueline, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you and good evening. I represent the Amy Church 5th District, a stakeholder in South and Central Los Angeles. I first want to say, as someone who served on 2 redistricting commissions for the City of Los Angeles, I truly appreciate the sacrifice that you have made on behalf of all of us, drawing the lines that will affect our lives, our LA County, for an entire decade. I want to support F4, but again, since in the last hearing, you made adjustments in order to respond to the people as you have, I would urge you to support the map as presented tonight. It is very, very important because every one of the supervisors who currently sits does an outstanding job for us to look at the basic criteria, and that is equal population, supporting the spirit of the Voting Rights Act, and ensuring that we can have equity. And I think you have arrived at that with the current map. Please support that for passage, and we will live with it along with you for the next decade. Thank you so much for all that you've done.
Thank you. Next, we have Carrie Ungermob and then Rob Kwan. Carrie, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Carrie Ungerman and I live in Studio City. And I just want to name that I was surprised by the last minute changes. And truthfully, I was not at Sunday's meeting, so I'm not sure specifically about Studio City, and where I live. But when I looked at the new map, I am still in District 3 by a block and a half. And I'm wondering just how it was decided that Studio City and other areas would be divided. And I'm in support of what the other folks said who were talking about these different areas and keeping them together. I also want to name that I had a similar situation as the person who called from Nithya Raman's office, that my city council area has changed too. So it just seems really odd, all these different changes, and
thank you, Carrie.
They don't seem to make sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Rob Kwan and then Vicky. Rob, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you. I really do feel bad for this commission. You've dedicated yourself to this craft. You know this county better than anybody else, the ins and outs, and you still have so many disgruntled people. And that's natural in redistricting. It's hard to appease everybody. But I know that as you're hearing all these comments, you're feeling as though you're in a giant tangled web, because you know all of the domino row of consequences to any kind of change you might make here and why you arrived at the changes you did. So I just hope you appreciate that. And I do think that people who've been engaged in this and the public do understand that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Vicky. Vicky, you will have 1 minute. Vicky, the audio is a little bit off. Vicky, can you try? No, it's still very high pitched. Okay. So it looks like Vicky may have logged off now. So with that, I believe we covered all public comments for 5B. Co-chairs, would you like to close 5B?
Yes, let's close public comment for 5B. I guess we should, what I wanted is just a forecast. Before we take a vote on the final map, and I know we're not there yet, but I just want to let you know that I want to go round robin for that before we take the vote. So you'll be able to express, whatever you want to express, I guess, about your vote on the final map. But before we get there, we should discuss if there are other comments, responses people want to make to some of the public comments. I know I definitely feel the need to. I see Commissioner Holtzman's hand. So we'll take some comment from the commissioners about what to do about the Town situation or any other situations, or to respond perhaps to some of the public comment. Commissioner Holtzman.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to dispose of the Town adjustment question quickly. I'd like someone to make a motion to do it because I can't support it. I've just looked into it and it's not right. So can we just dispose of that quickly, please?
Mr. Stetcher?
Yeah, by my count, there were 7 items that were brought up during public comment that we might want to address, ranging from switching a boundary in a park that involves 0 people to a Town that involves 2,000, to the Northwest San Fernando Valley that involves tens of thousands. And I don't think we can do any of them. I'm very sympathetic to some, but I think if we want to meet our statutory deadline, we have to adopt the map that we are confronted with.
Yes, Commissioner Wong.
So this is the time to discuss, like Town, the Town issue, correct?
Sure.
So, given that we've been talking about this issue and given that it's a mistake on our part by not realizing what we did when we moved Los Feliz, in fact, none of us would know that this has happened. I do feel that we do owe it, given the consistent public comments and our consistent acknowledgement that we wanted to keep Town together, that we should make those adjustments. It's just, in all fairness, and I don't agree with Commissioner Stetcher's idea that if we do one, if we consider one, we have to do all, because I think it's been pointed out by Ty that this is a unique situation. I feel that this is different than the others, and because we knew about it and it's been known since Monday. So I would move that we adopt this particular change and try to correct it.
And the particular change is the part of the RDU that was in Los Feliz to be moved together with Town and moved into SD1 from 5.
Correct. Yes. Thank you for
Is there a second?
That's a whole RDU, if I may correct that.
Is it the whole RDU? It's not a split? Okay.
Correct. It's a whole RDU. RDU 0504.
Is there a second?
Yes, I second.
Commissioner Franklin seconds. Further discussion. Someone needs to mute in the background. Commissioner Morales.
This was for something else, so I'll put my hand down till we get to the next item.
Okay. Commissioner Orpinella-Segura.
Yes, I wanted to see if, not sure if this would be applicable now or if it requires a separate motion, but making that modification to, I think it was Peck Park in El Monte. It didn't seem like it would change any of the population numbers. So if it's just moving a line to include that within the community, if it would be possible within the same motion.
That's a different motion. Go ahead, Holly.
Ty may want to weigh in on this too, but I did happen to pull that up during the discussion. It looks like that area is primarily in the boundaries of Arcadia, at least as it's showing up on the map. And so it would require splitting Arcadia. And it does seem to include some population that defined RDU. The way we'd have to split it to make it contiguous would include population. So it's a bit more complex adjustment.
And I don't think it's the same motion as Commissioner Wong's motion. So I would ask that you hold that, Commissioner Orpinella-Segura. Who wants to speak on the Town motion? Commissioner Holtzman.
Thank you. I'm familiar with that area of Thai Town, not least from having taken the Six Taste food walking tour of the area. And for a couple of other reasons, I do not believe that RDU is really properly considered part of Thai Town. I feel that also that commissioners and the public should have had notice that the staff or chairs were going to bring this up today, because they could have put it on the agenda with more than 24 hours notice. But to demonstrate this, I think I need to have Ty or someone show a couple of things on screen. Ty, would you be able to show the attachment that was submitted to the public comment about this from Candace Cho? Because it shows a map of the Thai Town COI that she asserts is the correct map. If not, I have it up on my screen. I could share it if you're willing to let me share my screen.
So it was also available on the slide. So Gila, if you have the PowerPoint available, we can reshare that.
So the one that shows, yeah, okay, there it is. All right, so, all right. So first of all, I want you to notice that to the left of the red rectangle, there's a similarly sized area of which only a small fraction, the tiny fraction, is considered part of Thai Town. Our software considers that whole area part of Thai Town, and in fact has it as 2 redistricting units. So if we're going to follow this map that was submitted and split and properly delineate according to this map, Thai Town and Los Feliz, or however I say Los Feliz, I'm sorry. We would have to then divide the RDUs in that area to the left of the red rectangle. But now, yeah, to the part about calling it Thai Town. When I took that walking tour and when I've been to the area, when I've been to Barnsdall Park and the area across the street from Barnsdall Park, which, you see, Barnsdall Park is that green area.
Commissioner Mendoza, Commissioner Holtzman, we really need to focus. Commissioner Mendoza has his hand up. I'd like to get to other comments as well, please.
I understand. So I will tell you, I've just re-researched that on Google Maps. There are basically no Thai seeming businesses along either of the major streets there, Normandy or Hollywood Boulevard. And the stats are right there for you. If you look at the RDU stats on our software there, you can see there's very little, if any, Asian population there to consider making it part of Thai Town. I see total population.
Yes, we all could see that, but it's, as been discussed before, the fact that people don't necessarily live there doesn't make it not a part of the district of the community.
Yes,
claims it does.
But Co-Chair Maeda, I know the area, and what would make it part of the area would be if there were Thai cultural facilities or business facilities there, and I don't see them. I don't know that they're
Point
there.
taken, Commissioner Mendoza.
I'm withdrawing my comment. Thank you.
Commissioner Wong. Commissioner Wong, you're muted.
Thank you. As Ty just explained, there's 2 ways to look at a community of interest. There's CSAs and the way the county looks at it, and then there is the community. If a community says that this is the area that they consider their community and they work there, I know organizations and CBOs, including, Candace Cho's particular group, as well as a Thai CDC, a group that is part of the APCON and submitted these comments. If they say that they work in that area and they consider that part of Town. That is the public comment that I would give more worth, with due respect, Commissioner Holtzman, than your opinion that this is not because you happen to be able to walk around that area and don't think that it is.
Co-Chair Williams, then Co-Chair Maeda.
Yes, I'd like to call the question on this motion.
Any objection?
Yeah. I have one more thing to point out.
Very, very quickly, please.
So I think Commissioner Wong is referring to a lot of discussion of the small part to the east of Western Avenue being part of Town. I don't disagree that it is, and we've already made that adjustment. This has just come up recently, this northeast part, and it only comes from one person who does work for that agency. So I don't. It's the first I've heard of it, and I think it's a late hit, and that's why I object to calling the question, because I wanted to point that out. It's not the community. It hasn't been presented as something from the community. It's just this one comment that came in from this one person who works for an organization but hasn't made the case.
We need to move to a vote quickly. I will just say I wholeheartedly agree with Commissioner Wong. When communities say what their community is, we really need to give that preference over what someone else, an outsider, really thinks it is or should be or whatever. The difficulty here for the public to understand is that we have communities that the city has told us are these communities, Town, Little Tokyo, et cetera. And they don't necessarily follow either the historic boundaries in the case of Little Tokyo, which is much broader than what the city says it is, or Koreatown, which has grown beyond what the city originally said it is. So it makes these decisions very difficult. I am extremely sympathetic towards wanting to put this into our final deliberations, our final map. I just don't think we have time. And it's a sad thing, but that's the way I'm going to vote. But I do think we need to vote. If anyone has any new people want to weigh in on this before we vote, let's see your hand. Okay, Ty, let's take roll.
Okay. Commissioners, please be prepared to unmute your mic. I will now take a roll call. Commissioner Orpanela Segura.
Yes.
Commissioner Haile Soto.
No.
Commissioner Saida Soto.
Yes.
Commissioner Brian Stetcher.
No.
Commissioner Bento.
Yes. I'm sorry, no.
Co-Chair Williams.
No.
Commissioner Wong.
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin.
Yes.
Commissioner Holtzman.
No.
Commissioner Kenny.
No.
Co-Chair Maeda.
No.
Commissioner Mendoza.
No.
Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
Commissioner Obregon.
No.
Motion fails.
Thank you. Are there other motions? Commissioner Orpanela Segura, do you want to make that motion?
Do they have some
Yes, but well, actually, can Holly reshare why this change would be a little more complex than it is? I did work in the city of Almonte, and I know that there are areas that are very close to, bordering Arcadia, Temple City. But I am familiar with Peck Park, so I just want to make sure that it is within Almonte's boundaries. So if you could just re-explain again, please.
For due diligence, could we actually see it on the map?
Yes. Ty, are you able to pull that up? I show it as being in Arcadia, or at least that's a chunk of it. So if you pull up Arcadia and then zoom into the flood control basin, when you get down to granular level, you'll see Peck Road, Water Conservation Park. Yeah, just zoom in a little bit more. Yes, you see that. So as you can see, that little area that juts out into the water, I believe is the one that's labeled Peck Road Conservation Park. But as you can see, it's in Arcadia, so we would need to split Arcadia. You see that little that little strip of land that connects it. So that would mean we're taking that out, and then you can see to the west of it there on Goldring Road. That shows up on the map. I'm sorry, to the east of it. So that to me looks like is residential area. So this carries with it population. So if it were just a park and it didn't split a city, it'd be easy to accomplish. But it turns out it's a little more complicated.
Yeah.
Thank you, Holly.
Mm-hmm.
So in light of that, do you want to make your motion or not?
I'll withdraw my motion.
Commissioner Morales.
Yeah, so it was related to the motion, but the motion has been withdrawn. Having grown up in Almani, these streets are carved out in a way that just interlocks, and I sympathize. I mean, I know the park, but it would be a really difficult thing to do right now.
Any other motions to make or comments on any of the public comments?
Commissioner Franklin and Commissioner Holtzman.
Yes, I totally understand what the residents of District 5 is talking about, particularly regarding F4. And on December 12th, when the current map was actually posted, maybe our co-chairs can explain why we went and put up that current map. But I really want the public to know that we are not political. We are an independent commission. And as far as I know, none of the commissioners are connected to any politicians that would go against our mission and our mandates and our values. But I know it might appear that something went on, really quickly, but there is a method to why we did what we did. It's all about balancing. It's all about the numbers and everything. So I just want the public to know, particularly in District 3 and District 5. I can't speak for any other commissioners, the ones, but I do understand how you feel. And my concern is to let you know that there were nothing underhanded or backseat behind the doors or looking to get political favors at all. Thank you.
Commissioner Holtzman, then Commissioner Mendoza.
Yeah, it was obvious that a whole bunch of the public commenters today were speaking from the same script, talking about things being done in the shadows. And if anything was being done in the shadows, I will say it wasn't me. I haven't coordinated anything I've been doing with any elected officials or candidates. I just maybe thought I should state that for the record. There's one error that was in that script that was repeated several times, and that's that consolidating the Northwest San Fernando Valley with the rest of the valley to make the community of interest there whole, as several commenters have actually requested, what was done somehow because of that there's a media-based, entertainment media-based community of interest. That was never part of it. I never said that. The media-based community of interest was clear on the other end of the valley, on the southeast corner of the valley. That error might have been prompted by a typo in the agenda, an earlier version of today's agenda. But I don't think so. I just want to say that was an error, and I'm sorry that it got into so many people's comments. And so that's it. And yeah, okay. So that's it. I don't know. Maybe you're talking about some other commissioner having a secret agenda. I certainly don't, and I haven't coordinated with anybody. So there you have it. Thank you for letting me make that remark,
Commissioner Mendoza, then Co-Chair Maeda.
Thank you. Thank you. A commenter tonight talked about Laverne and concerns, a change that was made very, very recently. Can we pull that up and take a look at it? I want to make sure I understand what exactly took place. It might have been something that I wasn't paying close attention to.
Commissioner Mendoza, you wanted to see the map, is that correct?
Please.
Okay, so if we're looking at the Laverne area, it's in the white. Let me go ahead and zoom in a bit more.
Okay, so it appears Laverne's in two different supervisorial districts, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the most southerly end is most close in proximity to the Fairplex, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I think that's what the caller was talking about.
If I may, on that point, Co-Chair Maeda, I could help answer that.
Okay, I don't know if that's a question, but go ahead.
Well, that comment was referring to redistricting that has just been done for the city of Laverne, and at least one other comment was about redistricting that's just been done for the city of LA, and this commission really can't be expected to respond to redistricting that's going on by other commissions at other levels of government at the same time. It's, you know, we're supposed to be independent of that and them, and you know, perhaps we should offer our apologies to those people who suggested we should, but we really can't do that. Thanks.
Mr. Mendoza, did you have a?
Well, no, I do see now. I guess I didn't realize that Brackett Field, the airport, the private airport was moved. So, you know, there would have been more comment about it previously, but I don't know what can be done at this point. Thank you.
Chair Maeda.
So I also want to discuss or respond to some extent to the comments about for the folks who are in the northwest corner of the valley. First of all, to the extent anyone is wondering, I also I'm not carrying the water of any other person, political or otherwise. But some of the comments said something to the effect of all of those communities, the testimony was absolutely clear that they all were associated with the North County District, the SD5. And that's simply not true. There was testimony that went both ways in that area. At the meeting on December 10th, Stuart Waldman, who's repeatedly shown up to virtually all of our meetings, and representing the Valley, asked to move Granada Hills and other areas of Northwest San Fernando Valley into SD3. Keep more of San Fernando Valley whole was his comment that he repeated many times. Chris Rowe, move Chatsworth and Granada Hills from SD5 to SD3. That was on December 10th. On December 10th, I strongly promoted map 101, which was from the People's Block, to answer another comment. That's where that map came from. That is the one that introduced the idea of an entertainment corridor. Commissioner Holtzman also was working on that same idea. We took a vote to see if we could elevate 101. It failed 7-6, meaning more commissioners liked the idea than didn't like the idea, but it didn't reach 9, so it failed. But that shows you there was already support for that idea. December 11th, public comment, Stuart Waldman liked 103 better than 101. 103 had an even more extreme is not the right word, but even more pronounced entertainment district that went from the North County SD5 all the way to Beverly Hills. Many commissioners expressed, much to my surprise, a great deal of interest in 103, indicating that they also would like the idea of an entertainment district. Stuart Waltman put Granada Hills, Chatsworth, Porter Ranch, and Northridge into SD3. The public also, there are several comments liking S101 and 103. We took a vote on Commissioner Holtzman's proposal 106, which became 107. Again, all based on the 101 entertainment corridor. That motion failed, but several new commissioners who had not previously voted for it this time. So it's increasing support, it seemed to be. At the end of that meeting on December 11th, I wanted to limit, you might recall this if you watched it, I wanted to limit the commissioners, the commission's discussion of the maps to just tinkering around the edges, not wholesale changes. And I was shot down. People still wanted to make those changes. So that's what we carried into the 12th. It is not a great system that we had where we had to make a decision a few days in advance of making the final decision, which is tonight. But that's what we have. But on the 12th, Chris Rowe, Heath Klein, all said move Northwest San Fernando Valley into SD5, into SD3. Anyways, so the point is, it's, I'm sure, seemed like a last minute decision, but it had been building for quite a few days ahead of time, quite a few public meetings ahead of time. The idea of being in play, the valley, how far does it go northwest, as well as what if is there going to be an entertainment corridor, and if so, how much of it, how far is it going to go? Those were all at play. It wasn't it might have been a surprise, but it was all the steps were there to lead to that point to where we made the decision.
Co-Chair Williams.
Yes, I just wanted to say in support of the commission and the comments that have already been said that for this commission, we are the first. We represent all of the districts, but we also are making we're making our decisions for 10 million people in the county of Los Angeles. We have been transparent, which is one of our values. We've tried to be objective. We have been open about the types of moves that we've made. And unfortunately, as we come down to the end, there are some moves that we've made that may not have been, you may not agree with, but a lot of them have been made right in front of the public as we've done that. And I have to say, there's always conflicting testimony. You know, there's not always agreement with where the public wants to go. And at some point, we have to make a decision as a commission because we do have a deadline. I'm not using the deadline as an excuse, but I have to say we have done our best over since January to move toward the final map. And again, our considerations is for all 10 million people of the county of Los Angeles, trying to draw 5 districts that represent 2 million people each, trying to look at when you get down to RDU, you know, we're talking about what, 3,000 people here or whatever. Some of those things we might be able to tweak, some of them we may not, but we have really done our best. So I just want to support the commission and go on the record that we have done our best. We've been transparent. We have listened to the public, and we've tried to make the best decisions in response to what the public has told us is important to them.
Commissioner Holtzman, and then Commissioner Cyrus Soto.
Perhaps we could let Cyrus Soto go first, because I was going to offer a motion under the impression that we were all talked out. So can we do it that way, please?
Can you just hold that motion and let Cyrus Soto go first, and then I have a proposal to make.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think as we transition, I just wanted to say thank you to the public for showing up, for coming through. I think it's quite clear that there is a lot of need in Los Angeles County, that there's a lot of people struggling. Our neighbors are struggling, and there's also a lot of, I think, good work happening to make this county a better place where we can all live healthy and dignified lives. And I want to thank all the organizations who showed up, who made sure that our community members were aware of the process and could engage, who eliminated barriers that perhaps we as a commission either didn't have the resources to do, but they showed up. And I just want to say thank you, because I think it made for this process a much more, I think, public and organized process as a whole. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you to fellow commissioners for showing up time and time again.
Commissioner Mendoza?
Yeah, were we going to be doing a round robin before a potential vote?
Yes.
Was that possible? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank
So
you.
my proposal is it's 6:41 or so. We've been going at it for more than an hour and a half. I say we take a 10-minute break, we come back, we have a motion to approve the final map. We'll go round robin, so you can make whatever comments you make before we vote, and then we vote. That's my proposal. So let's plan for that and take the next 10 minutes to plan your remarks. Thank you.
we should begin coming back.
Okay, please make your way back. Co-Chair Williams, do you want to make a motion concerning our final map?
Thank you. Yes, I would. I'd like to move that we adopt the final map before us.
Second.
If I could jump in
Do you
and
need to
just
say
make
other magic words?
I know that. What am I? What's the appropriate motion on this?
I would just urge you to consider moving approval of the resolution adopting the final map.
That was it.
Thank you. I move that we approve the resolution for adopting the final map.
I second. Okay, we're going to go round robin. Ty, who's next?
Commissioner Haile Soto.
Thank you. I'd like to thank just the public for joining us. It seems like evening after evening as we arrive to this evening, looking to consider the final map. Just to address some of the concerns about last minute changes from our last meeting. A lot of our decisions, I think, rationale behind them were based on our committees of interest maps that we developed earlier in the year, over the summer, late summer. And just looking at, and just during the break, I took another look at our 3 models. We developed 3 different models addressing committees of interest, different sizes. Some were very small, other ones were 500,000 to over 1 million people in the COI, so they varied in size and shape. But in those 3 models, especially for the San Fernando Valley, it seems early on there was a lot of support to keep the entire San Fernando Valley whole. And I think that's why we struggled. Every time we propose a map, it seemed like the following meeting we had public testimony that reacted to it, and that was expected. We wanted that public input to guide us as we were shifting lines and trying to address the communities of interest and make sure that we're as respectful as we could be. So I'm confident and comfortable with our process, transparency, and the way this went about. And I'm still a firm believer that this could be a national model that could be carried out to other jurisdictions in the state and hopefully across the country. Of course, we are addressing some of the shortcomings, and we are putting that in the report, which is next, but I won't discuss that right now. But I'm just supportive, and I know hopefully the majority of the people are happy with this final map. And that's it for my comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Snyder Soto.
I've already stated my my comments, and I'm in support in approving this map. Thank you.
Commissioner Stetcher.
Thank you. This is not a perfect map, but I don't think there is such a thing as a perfect map in these circumstances. I know that I didn't always get into this map the boundaries that I felt strongly about, and I'm a little disappointed that At the end, we made large changes that didn't have quite as much opportunity to ripple through the public sphere as we had done earlier. But nevertheless, I think that this is a splendid map, that it accomplishes the most important thing, which is that we realign the supervisorial districts so that they align with the population, the reality of the population in Los Angeles County in 2022 going forward. So I support it. I want to remind the public that we're creating supervisorial districts here on a board. These are not kingdoms. And so each supervisor doesn't operate independently and alone. They come together as a group of 5 to set policy for the county. And so you're not, while politics is very personal and it's important to have strong personal relationships with your representatives, you're not consigned to live in one supervisorial district at the whim of one supervisor. We will still have a board deliberating on the best way forward for the county. So I'm supporting this map, and the process over the last year has just been shown splendid participation on the part of the community.
Commissioner Vento?
Yes. Well, I just wanted to say thank you. I do support this map. I know it's not perfect. I know the process wasn't, but it was a great experience. And I really appreciate all the different community groups that come out and the individuals. I know that that can be very a challenge to get people to advocate for certain changes. I think that this is a model that hopefully maybe more states and more counties and more cities will follow through. So thank you.
Co-Chair Williams?
Thank you. I agree it's not a perfect map. I think it's a good map. I was just talking to my son and I said, you know, if we had 2 more weeks, we could really play with it. Or if we had another week, we could do more, but we don't. You know, our deadlines are set, and we have worked and we have worked and we have listened and we have tried to respond to what we've heard, and we have done our best. I agree with the rest of the commission. You know, thank the public. Some people have been with us from the start. We know you when we know you're going to be there, and we respect that and appreciate that. And we are just glad for all the public input. And we also, I have to say, we tried to be responsive for voices we did not hear from. You know, that's part of our role as a commission who represent the people of LA County, to understand the communities enough that if they're not speaking out, what might be in the best interest of some of those who were not heard from. But I again want to say I support this map. It's not perfect. We have done our best, and we're presenting it and we're voting on it tonight as the map for the County of Los Angeles for the next 10 years.
Commissioner Wong?
Oh, yes, thank you. Well, in good conscience, I can't support the final map, and I'll be abstaining from the vote, but I want to explain why to my fellow commissioners and to the public. I'm not sure if others will agree with me about the decision-making process that we went through at last Sunday's meeting. I think some of the public comments expressed how I feel, that I found it extraordinarily frustrating and disheartening. Disheartening because we have spent so much time to ensure a fair and equitable process. As you know, so many have noted, it's so important. These districts are so important and affects every one of us who live in LA County. And we have all been so careful to be transparent throughout the entire redistricting process, holding many public hearings, listening to hundreds of public comments, and making sure that we understood the implications of where the supervisorial boundaries would be drawn. I also do fully understand that perfection can be the enemy of the good, and that there is no perfect map that would please all of the residents and communities of interest. But in the end, each of us must feel comfortable with the final map if we give it our support. So here's why I've concluded that I have to abstain. First, I want to share that I've been going back and forth, revisiting and questioning my decisions on Sunday. From the moment we ended that meeting, I've been struggling with the issues of those changes since then, and I've come to the conclusion that I can't support that process that was followed on Sunday night with some of the last minute changes for the map. You know, aside from many of the public comments that we heard tonight, for instance, I have to say that it broke up several neighborhoods and communities of interest around where I live, like North Hollywood, Studio City, and the Hollywood Hills, which were together in SD3 in map 4F. So I didn't support that change now, and I don't then, and I don't now. But just to be clear, this has nothing to do with you know, my proposed changes and the rejection of those. I completely understand that and respect that. But in other words, the process was not conducive to understanding the full implications of the changes that evening. With that in mind, I do have some specific recommendations on how to improve the process for the next commission. And I hope to share with my fellow commissioners at some later time to try to avoid some of the pitfalls. And second, I want to explain, I would have found it very helpful to have known sooner that the growth of LA County supported 2 Latino majority districts, and the relevant criteria that we were permitted to consider was the race and ethnicity of the changing demographics of LA County. As it turns out, you know, we are allowed to consider the citizen voting age population of the different racial and ethnic groups. So this has caused me great personal frustration, since I believe that if we had that information earlier in the process, and or if we had a reasonable amount of time to absorb the new information, we would have considered different maps and proposed changes, and very likely we would have come up with a different final map. So given my disappointment with the process and my disagreement with some of the last minute changes and other issues with the final map, I hope you understand my reasoning for withdrawing my support and abstaining from the vote. And finally, I want to thank my fellow commissioners for all your hard work and commitment. And I want to thank the public for your honest and helpful comments. And thank everyone for allowing me to share my thoughts with you.
Commissioner Franklin?
Yes. Well, I respect Commissioner Wong, her statement. You have a right to make your decision, but I totally disagree with your reasoning behind it. All the information that we received at that particular moment. There was nothing that was provided that was at last minute or secondhand information, or information that was being withheld and we received it at a particular time. None of that was it. And Commissioner Warren, you presented maps as well on the date on December 12th as well, and we looked at your map as well. But I just want to say that I'm thankful to be a part of this commission and to be a resident of this great county of Los Angeles, of 10 million people. We are truly a rainbow of people. And I've learned so much about the county of Los Angeles and the 5 districts and the people that make up this wonderful county, from the Latinx mothers who work 2 jobs and have children in school, and yet still they get involved knocking on doors and having community meetings. They are truly leaders. From hearing from different officials, mayors and former mayors, and from even the senators and so forth, from my faith-based community-based organization executives and policymakers. I mean, this has been a whirlwind, and this has been a wonderful, wonderful experience. we have a fair map. We have a fair map. And we've all said it's not perfect, but we have a fair map. Okay, and I thank my fellow commissioners for being along this process. And I hope that the next go around in the 10 years that we look that, that there are community education groups is going on throughout all of the 5 districts and educating your community of interest regarding redistricting, because this is a brand new independent commission. None of us got paid, none of the commissioners. And this is democracy at work. Democracy at work. We did, and we served from our whole heart without any payment, and we would do it again. So thank you, and thank you for our executive staff and Holly and Gayla and Ty and everyone. Thank you.
Commissioner Holtzman.
First, I will echo what Commissioner Franklin just said about learning a lot. I was going to say an H word before a lot, but I stopped myself. We learned a lot from each other, from the public, from the process, and from the map, from the software. Just, cruising around Los Angeles County reminded me of times I've done it physically. And we are blessed to be in a county with so many cultural and natural and business resources. So I do plan on supporting the motion. I will vote for the resolution as council presented it today, even though I think it suffers from boilerplate bloat. It seems to have a lot more whereas clauses that are needed, but I suppose as these things get handed down, everybody thinks that you need a whereas clause for everything, and whatever. It's only 2 pages or 3 pages. It didn't get too large. And I would like to thank, first of all, as a former longtime civil servant, the county civil servants, for their efforts to provide us with resources and support. And these civil servants include Lorraine Lingat, Rhonda Rangel, and Twyla Kerr. I also want to thank the roadies they provided for us, the AV tech support at our in-person hearings. They really made us feel like rock stars. Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank Gayla Pretech Hartzell and Ty Lee and the rest of the KH Consulting Group team, who have really provided valuable services to this commission throughout. So thank you. I'd like to thank our independent counsel, even though she couldn't make this resolution any shorter. Thank you very much. And also, of course, the public commenters and the press who were paying attention to what we were doing. Much appreciated. And finally, my fellow commissioners, thank you all. I know we've jousted at times, but I've learned a lot from not jousting, and I appreciate this, and we'll support our final product here. Thank you.
Commissioner Kenny.
Thank you. I do support the final map, and I keep looking at the map that is in force right now, and I've had it by my side the whole time, and I keep thinking, is what we're doing an improvement over the existing map? And I can honestly say that I think it is an improvement. I think that the input that we got from the members of the public were extremely helpful, and I know that it was such a trial to sit through our meetings for your 60 seconds of comments. But we listened to every comment, and we read every submitted written comment, and we considered it. I've lived in Los Angeles County all of my adult life, and I've lived in each of the current 5 supervisorial districts at one time or another. And I don't necessarily agree with every single aspect of the map, but I can certainly stand up and defend this map as a whole as being beneficial for the people of Los Angeles County in being able to make their voices heard with their elected representatives. Thank you.
Co-Chair Maeda.
Anytime you're asked to draw 10 million residents into 5 and only 5 districts, it's going to be a challenge. When you also have to try to avoid dividing 88 cities, 122 unincorporated areas, and over 100 Los Angeles city neighborhoods, and dozens of communities of interest that we've gathered information about over the course of many public hearings, that's an extremely challenging task. Our final map, as everyone has already said, is not perfect. There's always going to be shoulda, coulda, woulda to have been done differently. But as Commissioner Kenny said, our map, our final map, is a vast improvement, or I'm saying it's a vast improvement, major improvement over the existing map. It's more compact. It splits fewer cities and neighborhoods. It's more fair to more communities. It distributes economic assets, employers, recreational assets, cultural facilities among the various communities in a more fair and equitable fashion. I think the public can have confidence that the commission worked as hard as we reasonably could have worked to come up with this final product. For those of you who have not necessarily been following along day to day, from December 1st through 12th, we have had 7 public hearings of hearings or meetings ranging from 3 to 5 hours each. That's an incredible amount of work. And that doesn't even include the work that working groups did in between and or individual commissioners who had to keeping up with the maps as they continued to be submitted day by day. We created the best map we reasonably could, given the time constraints that we had. We were independent of any incumbent, any political party, any political candidate. We made every effort to be as transparent as we could be in person as we did our work. We reached out as much as we possibly could to different communities on Zoom and in person. And now we've come to the end, and I urge your yes vote on the motion to adopt the resolution.
Commissioner Mendoza.
Thank you. It's hard for me to believe that a year has gone by. We embarked on an imperfect process. We're imperfect people. We've heard from any number of groups and people about what their wishes are. And I again want to applaud the community-based groups for their dedication and passion and their messaging. Your voices were heard loud and clear, and the individuals as well, some of whom spoke many times and were emphatic about, and very articulate, I might add as well, in helping I'll just say to educate us about the issues, many of which I wasn't completely familiar with. We had one individual, Mr. Wong, who's already been referenced a few minutes ago, who made a statement that I find profound: don't let the perfect get in the way of good. So I think we have a very serviceable map that a year's worth of thought and analysis has gone into. I don't think more time or more information obtained sooner would materially affect the changes to a final map or to the final map. I'm satisfied with the process and pleased with the final map, and feel very privileged to be a part of the process and work with each and every one of you commissioners, as well as the vast support network that we've had. So I'm feeling really good about what we've done and in favor of moving forward with a yes vote. Thank you.
Commissioner Morales.
Yes, so I want to thank the community groups and organizations who worked diligently to bring the voices of residents to the meetings. You brought Los Angeles's diversity to the forefront of our conversations. You helped us understand communities of interest in a deeper way. To my fellow commissioners, we agreed, disagreed, vehemently disagreed with one another over the course of this past year, and we remained united in coming to our final conclusions. So even this is, on top of having different political orientations, I don't think folks understand that we all come from different walks of life into this, to the commission itself, our backgrounds, our cultures. We remained civil in this process. And for that, I thank you. There are very few spaces where we can remain civil with one another, and I found it a pleasure to be in the commission as we had these very difficult conversations. And so I also want to make sure that we give credit where credit is due. And so to Gayla and Holly, thank you for your hard work in keeping us oriented and in compliance. You've gone above and beyond your duties to ensure our process move forward in a timely manner. Ty, thank you for your hard work on the technical assistance. These last few weeks have been invaluable. I mean, you definitely are a rock star. Somebody should make t-shirts. I think somebody mentioned that before. Thank you to Preeti from ArcBridge and for the analysis and the maps, as well as Bruce Adelson for the legal advice. All of this information really helped to inform us in a way that to make some, really educated decisions in moving forward in some of these, maps. A reminder that the short time frame that we had has its roots in the delay of the release of the census data. And so when national politics play into the local, the end result is complexity. And this is a complexity that we had to deal with that was above our ability to control. What we did control was to get as much input, be as informed as possible to make the final decision here. And so I am going to express my support in this final map. And now, once we get this vote done and this meeting done, I could look forward to going back to the bane of my existence, which is helping my oldest son with algebra homework on a regular basis, which I do lovingly as possible. I also look forward to the regular saxophone practices during the evening hours, which I've have not been a part of in a little while. So, but onward, let's move forward with this process here. Thank you.
Commissioner Obregon.
Hey, thank you. The patience everybody has shown and the listening to the information and trying to create this map. In general, the map is good. The demon is always in the details. Where are the lines to be drawn? No line is 100% perfect, nor will it please 100% of the people. Nevertheless, these lines were created without any bias. So I do endorse the map as is. Thank you.
Commissioner Orpanela Segura.
Yes, thank you. I think this is a very monumental moment. We are the first independent commission to help draw district boundaries. And it's really with the feedback of the community. It wasn't an easy process. As my colleagues have said, it's not perfect. And I don't think any additional time we would have made a perfect map, because there's so many different opinions, but we did what we could, including feedback from the community, which is really how maps should be drawn. So with that, I just want to thank my colleagues for really sticking through this process, and everyone else that has been involved. So it's been a fun journey, and I hope that our process and decisions can inform the next redistricting in 10 years. And I'm supportive of the map.
With that, all commissioners have had an opportunity to speak.
Then I say we vote.
Okay, so commissioners, please be prepared to unmute your mic. I will now take roll call. Commissioner Rosa Soto.
In support.
Commissioner Stetcher.
Aye.
Commissioner Vento.
Yes.
Co-Chair Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Wong.
I abstain.
Commissioner Franklin.
Yes.
Commissioner Holtzman.
Yes.
Commissioner Kenny.
Yes.
Co-Chair Maeda.
Aye.
Commissioner Mendoza.
An emphatic yes.
Commissioner Morales,
Yes.
Commissioner Obregon,
Yes.
Commissioner Orpinella Segura,
Having trouble with my mic here. That's a heck yes.
and Commissioner Haile Soto.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, everybody. Work is not done. We have the next agenda item is on the report, I believe. Yes, discussion and potential approval of the resolution adopting our final report. Gayla, I assume there is a staff report on this.
Yes, I'm just going to pull it up, but I just want to make a comment. This is a tough act to follow. It was almost like you were having the celebration that we were done with the meeting. And in fact, we have two more agenda items. One is, now that you've approved the map, is to approve the resolution to approve the final report that accompanies the map. And then after that, you have the exciting activity of looking at the last 2 minutes and approving them. So the evening's not over. But I also want to share with you all and with the public that these commissioners not only are unpaid, but they have had more than 50 meetings during the course of the year, many in the last week. It's been a very condensed calendar and schedule, given a lot of the challenges, which I'll highlight again as I go through the report. I also just want to say I did walk you through the report on Sunday, and I want to thank all of the commissioners who provided some more insight, because I think it brought more value added to the report. I will prepare you now. The report has grown from the body of the report, which is over 350 pages, and it's now over 2,000 pages. Now, why has it grown? Well, ArcBridge is the one that not only generates the shape files, but all of the documentation of all of the RDUs and census blocks that are in each of the subrural districts. So you can sort of speed read through the last, 1,500 pages of the report, but I will show you visually what it looks like. It almost crashed my computer today trying to put that size of a PDF together. So here we go. Can you all see the report? What we have added since we last went over it as a draft was a lovely transmittal letter from the two co-chairs. Again, it's a 3-part report. Part A is really, I think, what the public will really focus on. It's an executive overview. It shows documentation of the final map, really focusing on where there are splits and what was the reasoning behind the splits, because you worked very hard to keep cities whole, to keep unincorporated areas whole. And when you did have to split a city, there was some rationale behind it, as you discussed tonight with the Fairplex. Part B is really documentation. If there's ever a question in the future about what you did during the year, it is there. But it's also written to help future Los Angeles County Citizens Redistricting Commission to sort of see the journey you went on and to have a better idea of what steps they need to take during the course of the year. And then Part C is the appendices, which are many of the reports you've approved over the course of the year. We recognize the commissioners, we recognize all the staff. Holly and I had the pleasure when we were brought on to be basically told in early December of 2020, a year ago, you have basically 1 week to pull together the 8 randomly selected commissioners and have them pick the other 6 by December 31st. So you folks didn't have an easy start. You were meeting, in fact, even the day after Christmas on December 26th to come up with the other 6 commissioners. All 14 were selected and sworn in January, and it's been a very, very fast pace. And again, I want to thank you. It's been a pleasure working with each of you. And I also want to thank the team. Many of you have already recognized that Ty has been a rock star and a very solid contributor throughout this process. And I was thrilled that he was willing to come on board for this project. We also have Carlos de Alba, who did a lot of the media strategy and outreach. The legal advisors, not only Holly Watley, but also her colleague, Alex Gregorgian. We have Bruce Adelson, who was the expert on the Voting Rights Act, coupled with Dr. Jonathan Katz in terms of voting polarization analysis. And then, of course, ArcBridge, who have been the ones crunching the numbers in the background, producing the maps, and serving as our demographers. And I do want to give a shout out to our Spanish interpreters. Tonight we have Gloria and Angelica, and they have become extremely educated about redistricting and have been very, very valuable on that communication link. So quickly going on through the report, we have abbreviations for the public to help make the reading easier. But as I mentioned, part A is really the heart of the report in terms of the background. Detailed table of contents, but the highlights really will present an overview of what not only redistricting is, but why you are unique. You are among at least 10 local governmental jurisdictions in California trying this. We do feel you're pioneers. We do feel it's going to become a prevailing practice in the future. We've also outlined, as you know, the many, many challenges you faced. This was not just, Gayla and Holly, will you sort of work together and help this commission get started? But we were doing it in wake of never knowing when the census data would be released, extreme delays in having it released. We then had to wait until the end of September for California to adjust the database for the incarcerated population. The mapping software was really state of the art, but it too had certain refinements. We had to sort of work with the kind of databases, the RDUs, and because it's cloud-based, the wonderful news is we had a lot of users get involved in being trained, and you had over 113 maps that you reviewed since this became officially available. I believe in 2011, they said it was more around 2025, and about a dozen of those weren't qualified in terms of maps to be considered. So just think of the growth in that area. Now, all of this you did in light of the pandemic. Again, hard challenge for everyone throughout the nation and the world. But again, it meant we did go virtual. It was a first for running commission meetings this way. You tried hybrid meetings, also a first for any commission in the history of LA County. The workload has been significant. Just to give you some ideas, since November, you might pat yourself on the back. You've had over 3,200 viewers on YouTube watch your meetings. You have had over 3,800 written comments submitted and over 600 people make oral comments before you. So again, a lot of input. I also just want to mention that you were doing this with competition with a lot of redistricting going on within the county. And oftentimes the public had to make choices in terms of, do I go to the LAUSD redistricting? Do I go to the LA City one? But you folks really persevered. And as you saw, as your maps became more honed, you got a lot more input in terms of what was happening. And there, I also want to applaud you for really listening to your communities, developing the community of interest maps that were very valuable when you developed those in late September and early October to guide you as you listen to discussions. And as you acknowledged tonight, receiving conflicting viewpoints. We could not just develop one COI model. It was really three because of the differing viewpoints. Now, chapter 2 was one when I talked to you on Sunday, hadn't been written, because it could not be written until we had a final map to really address it. So now we have this chapter pulled together. It outlines the redistricting criteria. It presents a lot of demographic data, not only the map, but given the map, information on the deviation profile in terms of the voting age population against the voting total population, as well as the CVAP vis-a-vis the total population, comparing also changes between 2010 and 2020 with the census data by race. You'll see a lot more tables breaking this down in terms of the implications of the mixed races by the various subsoil districts for total population, VAP, and CVAP. We also spent some time with each of the criteria explaining why your map is in compliance with the Constitution, VRA. There's a special report from Bruce, which was posted for the meeting tonight and is also one of the appendices in this report. We also talk about geographic being contiguous. And then really, a lot of time was spent on the community of interest. And with that, we used these RDU units. And by using the RDU units, we were able to be a lot more careful about keeping cities whole, keeping unincorporated areas whole, and you really focusing when you needed to make some kind of a split. If you look at the table at the bottom, you'll see it sort of goes over to the next page. In comparison to 2021, you have only 3 cities or unincorporated areas that are split. And each one of them, we define in this report the reason behind the split. You also were very attentive to the neighborhood councils who wanted to be whole. If we had another week, we might have been able to look at a few more of them, but there are 17 or 17% that are split. And if you look at what the prior track record was on the prior page, the last map had a lot more splits, 25 splits of cities and unincorporated areas, and 25 neighborhood councils, or 25% were split. The other criteria that are important to look at, obviously, is also that you never discussed, you didn't know where the current incumbents in office lived, and you did not consider a political party in any of your discussions, other than to say we cannot consider it. So when you go through each section, then goes through the 5 senatorial districts, and each section presents the map. It presents a population and demographics. It reinforces the constitutional VRA compliance, that it's contiguous. The one exception, which we have to explain, is Senatorial District 5, because you have the Pacific Ocean between Santa Catalina and the rest of the county. So again, that one is tied by ferry lines to Long Beach and San Pedro.
I think you meant 4, Supervisor District 4.
It's 4. You are absolutely correct. Thank you. I am moving along here quickly. It is definitely Supervisorial District 4 where it is assigned. And then each of the supervisorial districts, we list the cities that are whole, that you identified to be in the supervisorial district, the neighborhoods in LA City, because we knew we had to break that into smaller parts. We list all the unincorporated areas that are also whole. And then we do explain which ones had to have a split. So when you see here, you'll see, for example, at the very bottom, we have Pico Union. And it's in both Supervisorial District 1 and Supervisorial District 2. 83% of it is in 1. And you had a very strong commitment to keep the AAPI community together, which is why that kind of a split was made. And you'll see the table there were 2 more. The Laverne one pertains to the Fairplex. And then we had the unincorporated Northeast San Gabriel, which I believe the way it's structured, the boundaries themselves are split, which is why that also happened. We provide text about why the split occurred. We then go through each of the criteria, including geographic compactness and political parties. So I'm not going to go through that for all 5 of them, but what you'll see as you go through this would be the same information customized for Supervisorial District 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And then at the end of this report, we have the table that's in alphabetical order so the public can look up where their community is on the list. We list first the cities, and then we list the unincorporated areas. The 3rd chapter, and again, I want to thank the commissioners who added to the lessons learned in the draft on Sunday, is really for future commissions. And the first group of lessons learned are grouped around things that you're recommending to future CRCs. And then the second part are recommendations for the County of Los Angeles government agencies. So again, we're just emphasizing the importance of having subject matter expertise for performing the racially polarized voting analysis, and obviously the VRA. We are also suggesting that they look at how to gather the information on the COIs. I think it would have helped you a lot if when people gave their public testimony, if you could actually have seen the exact boundaries and on the map what they were talking about and then described it. Too often, the public spent a lot of time describing their community and then they left and you were sort of like, okay, but they didn't tell us where it is. So that would be an added advantage. I anticipate that technology will change and improve over the years, and there may be some tools out there that will help commissions to get more quantitative information as well in terms of these COIs. But I do applaud you for really trying to keep the historic African American communities, the historic AAPI communities, the historic, so many diverse groups throughout the county, to keep them together and to respect their heritage. Future county CRC should also make sure they revise and update the bylaws and the values, which has guided you throughout the process. We developed a lot more about what could be done to make it a much more robust outreach and engagement plan. Of course, we were in the middle of a pandemic. People were housebound, and we were pretty locked into using a variety of techniques to get people to get involved. We're assuming in 2030, 2031, that will not be the challenge, and that you will be able to probably have a different kind of approach for reaching so many community people out there and educating them. So we're recommending at least a half-time, if not a full-time person for that. Lesson 5 is the need to continuously educate the public. As you know, before every public hearing involving the COIs, you did a 10-minute overview. But yet this fall, as new people came, they didn't really know. You've got a lot of public commentary that may or may not have been within the criteria that you have to use to draw maps. This was a new one added, and Commissioner Rosa Soto, I want to thank you. This one is really taking the time, and unfortunately this was such a rapid process, but to really take the time about how are you going to go through and look at each map, refine it, and come to the final conclusions. And I think you can be more reflective and think about how you can guide future commissions and how to do that. And I also want to thank Commissioner Dorina Wong, who was part of this continuous process improvement. She thought it would be useful for this commission, since you are serving for another 9 years. I don't know if you realize that, but you all are on until there's a new commission appointed in 2030, to meet periodically and talk about what are some additional lessons learned. You need to take a little breather, a little vacation, and come back and reflect, but you'll have other lessons you may want to add to this list. The next set, get into the lessons learned for LA County departments. And this is really talks about the need for staffing. They need to come to a decision if you're going to select your own executive director and your own independent legal counsel. Unfortunately, this go around, it was a very quick startup. You basically inherited Holly and me and Ty and Carlos. We then worked with you to identify your additional subcontractors you wanted to bring on, and then added Arkbridge and Bruce Adelson and Dr. Katz. But fortunately, there's going to be 9 years for the county to sort of figure out how to do this going forward. What is the right budget? And with this comes a very important new lesson learned that we've added. And that is, we think that the county should actually select the commissioners in the year of the census. So really you're talking about a much earlier start time. And that would allow you to have sufficient time to really look at your bylaws, to think about what staff you want, who you want to work with, and also more time for training for you to learn over a more relaxed pace, rather than us trying to jam all of the training and everything else on you in a 3-month period. It would also hopefully give you more time to analyze the maps. We also think it's very important, I mentioned to you on Sunday, that the registrar recorder let applicants know the amount of time required. We estimate that you early on were spending at least a day a month. And I know in the last 2 months, it's been more like 2 or 3 days a month that you've been dedicating to this effort. We have some recommendations. And again, technology changes so rapidly. So in another 9 years, the mapping software hopefully will look a lot more elegant in terms of being able to have sophisticated Google Maps that show the mountains and a lot of the other geographic details, might be able to provide options for the novice who just wants to get in and try mapping software versus the pro who wants every single layer that you can imagine. And again, that should take some advanced time and planning on the part of the county to make that happen. We think the county should see if they could negotiate the conflict of interest for some subcontractors. We think it would open up your pool of redistricting experts that you might consider, particularly in terms of demography. The other thing, which whether or not there's a pandemic or not, my assumption will be this is the last pandemic for another 100 years. But I think hybrid technology is here to stay, and the county should be investing in this kind of a format. In many ways, I'm on the faculty at USC, so you have smart classrooms, and faculty are used to students zooming in or being in person. This is now going to be a way that I believe meetings of the future will be run, including these kinds of meetings under a Brown Act format. 2 other ones on lessons learned. To look to the California legislation to see if they might have a shared software platform and database that could be used across districts. It would be a lot more cost effective, and it would allow the public to not have to learn different software for different jurisdictions that are going through redistricting. And the last one is really outside of our scope, but we heard it from many, many public commenters that we felt it was important to cite it, and that is they should consider expanding the number of supervisors on the Board of Supervisors. Now, this last part I already went through with you on Sunday. This has not changed a lot. This is your year in review, and it's basically documenting what you have done throughout the year, starting with your formation, going through how you got organized. It's sort of a handbook to future commissioners, what kind of education you had, how we handled foreign languages, the YouTube, the various ad hoc working groups that you all were involved on, how the public outreach process, and in the appendix, we have the actual outreach plan, and where you spoke. I'm just going to sort of go through the press conference, how you conducted the community of interest public hearings. We used a zone approach, if you remember, because we did not want people to think we were stuck to the current 5 superstorial districts. We also did the first ever public hearing that was done in Spanish, and I extend my thanks to all of the Spanish-speaking bilingual commissioners who led that effort, and the English-speaking people had to be the ones attending and listening through interpreters. We also did the hybrid, where we did one hybrid in each of the 5 superstorial districts, following the various health protocols. We go through the COI maps, and the appendices again give the detailed report on that. I'm just going to go through this very quickly. We explained the various mapping, the training, the rollout, all the different kinds of data files that were made available for the public to use. And then the final phase, which you just are wrapping up tonight, and that is the map option selection, which you have now done. And it just highlights the various public hearings, the scorecard you developed, the various census data you looked at in the process, and then how you got to your final options. And so part C are the various appendices. I'm not going to go through all of it, just for you to know the bylaws are in there, all the various different documents in that. When you go to the very, very end of this, you're going to see sort of an astounding list. And that's this one. This is the RDU block equivalency that ArcBridge has prepared that will be sent over to the registrar recorder tonight, along with the shapefile. And this other very interesting report, which I'm not going to put up there, that goes on for another 1,000 pages, that lists all of the various census blocks. So that is the final report. It was a quick turnaround. And with that, I'll take any questions of clarification, and I believe we'll have a public comment on as well. But again, I want to give you a bravo. I mean, we went from Sunday to the production of this report for you to review and approve tonight.
Tremendous
Any
amount of work,
questions?
obviously. Clarifying questions, comments. Let's take public testimony. Ty?
All right, so we have a few for item 6C or 5C, apologies. We have Jacqueline DuPont Walker and then Chris Rowe. Jacqueline, you will have 1 minute. Jacqueline, if you are with us, please unmute. Jacqueline, if you are with us, please unmute. Okay, so we'll move on. We have next Chris Rowe and then Rob Kwan. Chris, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you, commissioners. I want to thank Gayla for that presentation. I unfortunately did not have the time to go into the full report or anything because I've been attending the state redistricting commissions, which will, by the way, impact all of you as well, the way I'm seeing things drawn. But I want to thank you all for, I do want to support, yes, Ty is a rock star. Gayla has been fantastic. I appreciate Holly's legal advice and your other legal teams. Commissioners, you know I've disagreed with you at times, but that doesn't mean that I believe you're corrupt. You have been independent. You've made really hard decisions. And I really want to thank you for what you did give us of the San Fernando Valley to make us whole. And really, Commissioner Franklin, you would be my friend if you lived in the Valley. Reach out to me. You've got my contact information. There's a number of you. Please know I'm fighting for my community. Thank you.
Thank you,
all
Chris.
of you.
Thank you. Next, we have Rob Kwan. Rob, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you. I'm speaking again in support of the recommendation that the county explore expanding the board of supervisors. I understand Commissioner Stetcher's concerns that this commission did not focus its time on this discrete issue, but the unique lens of redistricting is directly tied to the fundamental questions on representation. And I think the recommendation is also appropriately limited. There are larger factors to consider in our governance structure, and that's why the call is simply for an exploration of the issue and no specific number of seats is recommended. I believe this commission had the most difficult task of any redistricting body in this country. This group has spent a year dwelling on how to make 5 puzzle pieces work in a county of 10 million. You've gone through so many maps, you've probably had them infect your dreams over the last few months. No one in this county has a better understanding of how insanely large and diverse every neighborhood of this county is. You know how impossible it is to truly deliver representative government with just 5 seats. I think you have a duty to help ensure no future commission is forced to draw lines with their hands tied like the way yours were. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. And with that, I believe we have no other in queue. Co-chairs, would you like to close public comment on 5C?
Yes. Any discussion before we entertain a motion to adopt a resolution for approval of the final report? Yes.
The co-chair, Mayed, I believe there's a resolution that goes along with this.
Right.
That Holly should probably.
Okay. Holly, you want to show us the
Just like
resolution?
the other one, you approve the resolution to adopt the map. You approve the resolution to adopt the final report.
Sure. The resolution adopting the final report changed very little from the one that was published. There were just a couple of changes that paralleled what I showed you on the screen recently. The 2 things I would suggest that you keep in mind is already during the time you've been meeting, we have received a revised racially polarized voting report that makes a correction regarding the DA Garcon per Commissioner Morales' comment. So any final report would substitute that one in, which is revised and dated today. And I also recommend that you authorize as part of the motion approving the resolution, authorizing staff to substitute in the revised version of Bruce Adelson's analysis once some of those figures are corrected.
Would approval of a motion to approve the resolution also allow staff to correct typos?
We can add.
Yeah.
We could add that.
Okay. The reason is because I don't know whether you all saw, but I was reading it, and there's several paragraphs that are identical that are sprinkled throughout that reference SD1. It's basically saying Bruce reviewed all this, and SD1 is fine, but it appears like 5 or 6 times in other SDs discussions. So that's a typo, right? Presumably you meant to refer to you reviewed SD2.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I would like to have that. I mean, those are obviously just real typos. So those should not be controversial to change, I would think.
Right. And what we can do is, if that is included in the motion and approved, we will, the final resolution will add a whereas in there. Not a whereas. Commissioner, there will be no more whereases. We'll just add another paragraph in there that authorizes staff to make to correct any typographical errors.
Right.
Co-Chair Williams.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution adopting the final map and authorizing staff to substitute the revised. I beg your pardon?
The final report.
I'm sorry, what did I say? The final map? I'm sorry, the final report. Okay. The final report, and to authorize the staff to substitute the revised version of Bruce Adelson's report and authorize the staff to correct any, make corrections as needed.
I'll second. Any discussion on the final report?
Commissioner Holtzman.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I'm not going to block this from getting adopted, but I just wanted to point out a couple things. First of all, the report doesn't necessarily get the official name of the commission correct throughout. Even on the cover page, it's wrong. But redoing the typesetting right now, waste of time. But mainly, I wish this had been called, instead of final report, final map report. And here's why. By law, this commission will exist until will continue to exist for the rest of the decade. And we may wish to meet in 2022 and beyond. And this may not actually be the final report that we end up issuing if we have stuff to do. Reasons we might want to meet, I've written a few over here. We might want to discuss the reception of the final map and the report, how it was received, and what we see in it now. We might want to gather some of those reactions and additional information to have them in one place. We might want to formally make additional recommendations, acknowledgements, or observations. We might want to get all of us together in person, and heaven forbid this last one, we might want to get together to defend against a lawsuit or take actions to prevent the lawsuit or even a referendum. But with those comments, and having not read the whole thing, but I'm glad about the structure, which lets people zero in on the statutory requirements. I'm going to support this. Thank you.
Any other comments? I guess let's vote. Hi.
Okay, so I will now take roll call. Commissioner Stetcher.
Aye.
Commissioner Bento.
Yes.
Co-Chair Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Wong.
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin.
Yes.
Commissioner Holtzman.
Yes.
Commissioner Kenny.
Yes.
Co-Chair Maeda.
Aye.
Commissioner Mendoza.
Move for approval.
Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
Commissioner Obregon.
Yes.
Commissioner Orpanela Segura.
Yes.
Commissioner Haile Soto.
Yes.
And Commissioner Sade Soto.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Thank you, Gayla, for the presentation and for the work. It's mind-boggling how much you guys have done since Sunday. I know a lot of this was already pre-written, but even just the explanation part was really impressive. Okay.
Consent items. Oh,
Sorry,
Taylor?
we have to go to the minutes.
Yeah, consent items, yeah.
Okay. Draft minutes for December 11th and December 12th. Any corrections, comments about those minutes? Either set. If seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the draft minutes of December 11th and December 12th as written. Is there such a motion?
I second.
Okay. I
I'm
guess
sorry, I did not
motion.
hear who made the motion. I heard Commissioner Franklin seconded it.
Who made the motion?
I saw Commissioner Morales' head nod up and down. I just did not hear it.
We didn't hear your head nod up and down.
I think
Commissioner
it has to
Mendoza?
be verbal.
Motion to approve the minutes for December 11th and 12th.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Franklin seconded the motion.
Yes.
Let's vote.
Okay, I would now take roll call. Commissioner Bento,
Yes, I mean, yes to December 11th, no to December 12th.
Co-Chair Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Wong,
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin,
Yes.
Commissioner Holtzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenny.
I wasn't present for the end of December 11th, but for the parts I was present, yes, and then yes on the 12th.
Co-Chair Maeda,
Aye.
Commissioner Mendoza,
Move for approval.
Commissioner Morales,
Yes.
Commissioner Obregon,
Yes.
Commissioner Orpanel Segura,
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm still trying to catch what days I was here. I think abstain from December 11th, but yes on December 12th.
Commissioner Haile Soto,
Yes.
Commissioner Sider Soto,
Yes.
and Commissioner Stetcher.
Abstain. I wasn't here on the 11th and I haven't read the 12th.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Is there any more work that we need to do tonight?
Do you want the executive report? Because
Yes.
it's fun to celebrate. I just think you all should give yourselves a big shout out for working so hard and getting through this last year. You've been a joy to work with. So this is a bravo to you all. So come on, folks, you can celebrate a little bit. Come on. I noticed Commissioner Vento just went dark. But that is my executive report. And again, I just wanted to thank you all. It's been a pleasure working with you all.
Commissioner Vento.
Yes, I don't know if it's possible, but could we actually get together maybe one Saturday or Sunday, maybe for breakfast or a cup of coffee? Just because I spent an entire year with you and I've only met like 5 of you. And Bruce, I'm happy to figure out a way to get you over here. So we'll figure that out. But I would love to I don't know. I just would love to give you guys all just a big bear hug right now. So if we could coordinate something, that would be really cool. Maybe in January or February, pick a Saturday or something that everybody's kind of available.
So
I don't know how everybody feels about that.
So I hope it will not surprise you to learn that Co-Chair Williams and I have been talking about it. Commissioner Stetcher also has raised the idea of a picnic in Griffith Park or something like that, outdoors. And so we're trying to plan something probably in January. I assume folks need to do other things between now and the holidays. So probably in January. And, you know,
with the doodle poll, a doodle poll, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, and there may well be a need to have an additional meeting as well, be a short, you know, type of meeting probably, but we'll keep you posted on all those things. Commissioner Holtzman.
Yeah, because we might need to meet again. I have a motion that's based in part on the part of our bylaws that says that 4 or more commissioners can add an item to the agenda. We don't have another meeting currently scheduled as far as I know. So I move this commission adjourn until the next meeting, if any, called by the co-chairs by themselves or in response to a request by 4 or more commissioners.
Okay, do we need a motion for that since it's already in the bylaws that we can do that?
Right. I don't think you need a motion for that.
Well, we do need to figure out how we're going to call another meeting, because especially since you know, KH contract expires at the end of the year.
Well, we can handle that with the current bylaws. I'm confident of it, and we can't take any action right now on an item that's not on the agenda. That's not on the agenda.
Oh, that was a motion to adjourn. Okay, forget it then.
Commissioner Spector.
Yeah, I just want the last word to be additional acknowledgement and thanks to Gayla, Ty, and Holly for their year-long support. And we would have floundered tremendously without the leadership and structure and mellifluous voice that Ty offered. So I think we all are in agreement.
Sorry, you will not get the last word, but does Co-Chair Williams have any words?
Actually, I do. I read the comics, but I have to say I started reading the comics. Then I read the paper, and then I end up with the comics. But I saw a cartoon that said this: there is more to a journey than the mere fact of arrival. And it's a quote by E.B. White. And I thought, if you look at where we ended, so we're at the arrival, you know, we have gotten to our destination, and there's a heck of a lot more to this journey than where we are now. I mean, from where we started, all the ups and downs and turns and all of that has been truly a journey. But it's been something where we've kind of rose to meet the obstacles and everything that was going on. But I have to, you know, again, shout out to Gayla was keeping us on track. You know, if we needed, you know, a navigator or whatever you want to call her, she was there with keeping us, okay, you need to turn here, okay. And she was so far ahead of us in terms of what was needed. I really appreciate it as a co-chair, working with her, Holly, and again, our rock star, Ty, whom everybody fell in love with his voice, and just the commission and everyone. So I want to say this journey has been amazing. I was looking at a cloud last night and I was saying, oh, it looks like a map of district, whatever. Or people say, oh, I'm from, you know, Laverne. I'm like, oh, where is that on the map? So it has been in my head the whole year. So I'm glad we're here at the arrival, and it's been a pleasure working with everybody. I haven't met everybody in person, but it's been a great journey. So thanks a lot. And working with Dan is amazing, so smart and bright. I could say something about everyone, but I'm not. But it definitely, Dan as a co-chair made this a lot easier, definitely for me and for the rest of the commission. So shout out to Dan too for his leadership.
Yeah, that is so true, so true. And Art Bridge, our demographer.
Yep, definitely. And Bruce.
And Bruce, yes.
Thank you, Coach Williams. Certainly, the feeling is mutual in terms of the support I've felt as a co-chair. I do want to I have some thank yous. So Commissioner Holtzman already stole my thunder by thanking the county staff, but absolutely, the county staff in so many behind the scenes, unsung hero type ways have been helping us, whether it's in terms of the tech stuff, the map stuff, you know, the software, something like taking our agendas and going to the Hall of Administration or Hall of Justice, whatever it was, and taping it to the front, of the building, which is required by law. So someone had to do it. They did it for us.
And wiping the maps when we did our hybrid, but the mics when we did our hybrid meetings,
That's
remember
right.
they were there.
The
They
hybrid
cleaned the
public
mics.
hearings, cleaning the mic,
Don't
and
forget,
just
they had
protecting
to
the
go
mics.
through the 700 applications to pick us.
Well, that's true. Someone had to do that. The Spanish language interpreters for us, all of those things. For Priti, of ArcBridge, who worked tirelessly to compile all of the scorecards for all of the 100+ maps that have come in, and has taught us the funnest, it's got to be the funnest sounding evaluative tool ever, the Polsby Popper compactness test. To Bruce and Jonathan for helping us figure out what the relevance is of the Federal Voting Rights Act and voter polarization analysis, which is crucial to enable us to do our work. For Holly Watley and her colleague, Alex Gregorian, sorry about that, who kept us out of trouble and hopefully will keep us out of the courthouse. To Carlos de Alba, the marketing outreach guru, to our rock star clerk, Tai Lei, who smooth voice and unflappable demeanor soothed frazzled public commenters and commissioners alike. And of course, to our executive director, Gayla Kresh Hartso, who I'm sure the college gala would be astonished to learn that the 2021 gala is pulling even more all-nighters than she ever did in college, but who expertly kept us headed to our destination that we've reached today. Thank you to the public for always showing up at every meeting all year long and have kept us directed and kept us accountable. Thank you to former Commissioner Priya Sidaran, who started us off and gave up the first several months of the commission before she handed it off to Commissioner Kenny. And last but not least, to all of my fellow commissioners, I'm really astonished, actually, when it comes right down to it, that we lost only one commissioner over the course of a year, and the level of commitment and just doggedness with which you stuck with this and pursued this and heard every last public comment out until we arrived at this day is really a tremendous tribute to you individually. And I do look forward to getting together with you all, whether at a picnic or another meeting or whatever it is, because I do want to definitely personally thank you, if it's possible, for your service, because it's really heartwarming, and you did, I think, tremendous benefit to the county of Los Angeles, to the 10 million residents of the county. So thank you very much for that. And now, so that is the last word. Oh,
Now, I think we should give a shout out to our co-chairs, the best co-chairs we could have ever had.
Yes.
Thank you all.
very much. Okay, until we meet again,
Yes.
we are adjourned.
Woo.
Good night.
Happy
Congratulations.
holidays,
everyone.
everybody.
Holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Holidays.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
See you next
Bye-bye.
year.
Congratulations.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for all your hard work.